All right, welcome everybody to firstread.co in the First Read Sports Show. I am Parker Hurley. We're going to have Aaron Panese, our co-host, in here soon, but for right now, we are just going to be talking about the NFL Draft 2025. It's 8 o'clock on the dot right now, so we're about to see who's going to be picked with the first overall pick. We all know who's going to be picked with the first overall pick. It is the Tennessee Titans. They're going to be taking Cam Ward here in about 10 minutes. So we're going to kill that time. And then we'll get on to where it seems like the draft is going to start. Me and Aaron had our pre-draft little introduction show a couple days ago, and we talked about it seemed like Travis Hunter was obviously going to be the second overall pick, and it still seems like Travis Hunter is going to be the second overall pick. But now, as you're starting to see some of the rumors swirling in with, like I said, it's now 8:01, so the pick will probably be in like 9 minutes here, the first pick, and then it'll be a lot of talk about not whether Travis Hunter goes second, but whether or not the Cleveland Browns trade down from number 2 to where do they trade down. The likely scenario right now seems to be the Jacksonville Jaguars. And all of the talk this week has been centered around the Jacksonville Jaguars, mainly because the first pick's Cam Ward, the second pick's going to be Travis, third pick's going to be Abdul Carter, fourth pick, New England's going to take their tackle of choice, which seems like Will Campbell at this point. Jaguars hold the fifth pick. Everyone's been putting Mason Graham there, but through the draft process, Mason Graham's coming up, undersized, athletic questions, not as high as his ceiling as he does. Obviously, looks like a pretty high floor for a player. So, do you take the safest player in the draft with the fifth overall pick, or do you try and this is a first time coaching GM situation? Are you trying to make some splashes here? So, it started on, I think it was like Tuesday. The Jaguars had rumors of the Jaguars are going to be taking Tet McMillan with the fifth overall pick. Then it was, well, that rumor is just that they're looking for a pass catcher and maybe they could trade down and take Tet. Well, then it's, they're going to take Genty because they're looking for some sort of offensive skill player. I've been saying maybe they're linked to Tyler Warren because everyone keeps saying he's going to go in the top 10, and they seem to be, one of the best fits in terms of, like everyone's saying, they need an offensive skill player. And then, so it's kind of been circling around. And then it's, they're just talking about Genty because they want to stir up some interest because they know the Raiders are hot on Genty at 6. So they want someone to come up to 5 for them. And then they would trade down and take 10. That's where the rumors started to go to. And then you look at it with the Jaguars and you think, okay, Etienne and Tank Bigsby obviously would be downgrades from Genty, but still, are you really going to, make that? Are you really that hot on Ashton Genty at that point? Probably not. So it seems like now the rumors have shifted to, okay, that was obviously not as real as people wanted it to be. The Jaguars' interest in Ashton at the 5th overall pick. And everyone keeps saying, well, they want an offensive playmaker. They want an offensive playmaker. And now here it comes that, okay, they're the team that's really swinging heavily for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Or for Travis Hunter, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars really swinging for him. And you look at it from the Cleveland Browns perspective, I think the issue for the Browns here is that this isn't I talked it through with Aaron, the 10th overall pick is not very valuable this year because there's a real big drop off. And a lot of these players, like I said, Mason Graham, an interior defensive lineman who lacks size, that's not good. That's one of the best players in this draft. Will Campbell, an offensive lineman who lacks length. Best player in this draft, Armand Membu, rising up boards. He probably, in my opinion, he's one of the cleaner players, but he's a little bit shorter than you would typically want from a tackle. So you're getting all these players who aren't checking all of these boxes. So you say, Travis Hunter is a clear and away, standout prospect compared to all these other guys. So it starts to get hard to say, should a team not, should you trade down from Travis Hunter? But you look at the Cleveland Browns and you look at the fact that, I don't have their Deshaun Watson contract being pulled up right now, but they're paying him so much and he's not going to play next season. So when you have such a sunk cost sitting there, is your best thing to take, a ready-made player and then where is that getting you, considering you don't have the structure roster-wise or cap space-wise to do anything about it? So trading down from Hunter because he's such a highly valued prospect is probably what they're thinking, to pick up in excess of draft picks and then still potentially get a pretty good player. But like I said, the reality is that there's such a drop off between who the best player is in Travis Hunter and then what you could get, even just dropping down to number 5. Like I said, getting a guy, like even like a Kelvin Banks, is everyone keeps talking about him number 6, and Aaron's talking about he should be a guard. A lot of people are saying he'd be better off as a guard, or he's not a high end tackle. He'd probably be an average tackle or a really good guard. What's he going to go 6th overall? And you're going to trade down from Travis Hunter to take that? That's sort of the philosophy or sort of the thought of why would you really want to trade down from Travis Hunter at that point? So it looks like Roger Goodell is going to kick off the NFL draft here soon. So like I said, it's really not even going to be interesting for the first 10 minutes here as they take Cam Ward. The speculation is still going to be about what the Browns do at number 2 and whether they trade down. So leave some comments, everyone, if you're listening, and we will answer all your questions live on the air. Aaron's probably going to jump in here soon. We're wondering what's going to happen with the 2nd overall pick. We already know Cam Ward's going to go 1st overall, but we're like 10 minutes away from that actually happening. So it'll be interesting to see. They're still doing nothing in terms of kicking off the actual NFL draft. So that's where we are. I could get into Cam Ward and why he fits with the Tennessee Titans, because probably after Cam Ward gets picked, we'll immediately get into that discussion I just had with the Cleveland Browns, and hopefully they'll have a decision by the time the 2nd overall pick comes around. So it looks like they're still just firing up people in Green Bay. And I'm watching on the NFL Network if you want to watch it along with me on the exact channel. We'll see what Aaron turns on when he jumps in on this live stream, firstread.co. Check it out, everybody. We're going to be doing these more often. This is our big kickoff bash for the NFL draft. So, like I said, I think the first 2 picks are set in stone. We're just wondering who's going to make the 2nd pick, whether it's the Browns or whether they trade down. And then we got the 3rd pick is going to be the New York Giants. It seems like they're going to take Abdul Carter, which opens up one of the other rumors that started to come out in the past few minutes or hours, is that Kayvon Thibodeau going to have his 5th-year option potentially need to be picked up. He's a pass rusher who I'd say he's a quality rotational pass rusher, but he hasn't. That's not what you want when you have. I think he went 5th overall in his draft pick 4 years ago. So the Giants are obviously going to be weighing that, and all of a sudden they just traded for Brian Burns and put a ton of money into Brian Burns. They have Kayvon Thibodeau on a 5th-year option, and they're sitting here where I just said that, there's Abdul Carter and then there's the 4th pick. It drops off pretty significantly. So you take Abdul Carter and now you have 3 edge rushers. Makes it more compelling to trade Kayvon Thibodeau. And then the rumor was that the Giants want to be one of those teams that they're sitting there at like 34th overall. They want to be one of those teams that's able to jump back into the 1st round to pick up. You can get the 5th-year option on a player if they're taken in the 1st round. So you want to do that with a quarterback, even though honestly, the reality with quarterbacks is that within the first 3 years, and after 3 years, you should probably want to pay your quarterback. You should say, oh wow, we have somebody pretty talented and we want to pay him. I wish I had a list up, or another episode we could do a list of when quarterbacks go into their 4th year and there's a question about their 5th-year option. Mitch Trubisky, Daniel Jones. Those are just a few of the names that you think about when they go into that 4th year. And are they going to Justin Fields? Are they going to pick up that 4th-year option? Or are they not going to pick up that 4th-year option or 5th-year option? Those are the players that, and then it never works out. And they always you should have just moved on earlier. So a lot of the times with quarterbacks, it's like, within 3 years, and that 5th year doesn't matter because you better pay that dude. If you got to pay him as soon as possible. And if you don't know, then you should move on as soon as possible. That's what it really comes down to at the quarterback position in the NFL. So we'll see what people think about that. And but like I said, with the New York Giants, they've got Thibodeau. They could use Thibodeau to trade back up to secure. It sounds like the Giants, at least we're going to see if Todd McShay is right or not. But Todd McShay said something along the lines of Shedeur Sanders had a bad interview with the Giants and a good interview with the Steelers. So we'll see if that works out. We got Ben Batt on here, our boy Ben, with a comment. He says, Parker, what's the latest on Pickens getting traded? I think, when the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, it obviously lit up the possibility that Pickens would get traded. And I always kind of have said, when you think about, first off, the Steelers aren't the team that they don't pay wide receivers very often. Antonio Brown is one of the very few receivers that they give that, a second contract to. They usually like to, we draft a receiver, we get him for his 4 years, and we already drafted 2 receivers during his 4 years who are already going to replace him by the time, he's going to get paid, and then he's out the door. And, maybe and really, different case like Antonio Brown will pay him, but has George Pickens showed that he's a different case like Antonio Brown, off the field or whatever, but on the field, he's been a really great player. But Antonio Brown was, a Hall of Fame player. That's a big difference between what George Pickens has done and what he's done to warrant the off-field question marks, maturity question marks, things like that. It's hard to see the Steelers paying a guy like George Pickens money, especially when they see, this is how Pickens acts when he gets disgruntled. Now we're going to give him a ton of money. We're going to reward him for the way that he acts. Don't see that. So you look at it, and he's got 1 year left on his contract. You look at this draft, and like I talked about, me and Aaron talked about, if the Jaguars get up to 2 and they do take Travis Hunter, then receivers start to fall. The first one probably doesn't go till 12 at the earliest. Second one doesn't go for a while. Then you have a lot of second-round receivers, like 6 second-round receivers, 7 second-round receivers. So if you can get a second-round pick for, a team who's looking around saying, oh, we want George Pickens because, he's obviously very talented. He's got that alpha mentality. We think in the right situation, he could be X, Y, and Z. And you could trade, like to bring up the sheet or something. It's like, Jalen Noel from Iowa State. If you trade, would you trade Jalen Noel from Iowa State for George Pickens? George Pickens is a better receiver and has much more upside. Jalen Noel has 4 years of, like $1 million contract, whereas George Pickens has, you're going to have to pay him $20 million plus, $30 million plus when you really break it down. So, 30 million versus 1 million, is Jalen Noel better than George Pickens? Is he 30 times better? It starts to get into that question. So it's fair. But then it comes down to, why would a team trade for the headache of George Pickens and have to pay him when they could just draft, not even saying Jalen Noel, Jaden Higgins, trade Harris, Jack Beck. We might be on tomorrow night too, for Friday, that's where all those guys I just listed are going to go. So if you want to hear my opinion about that, say that you want to see it on tomorrow's episode. We're 13 minutes in and they still Tennessee hasn't even made a pick yet, which is, I don't understand that part about the NFL draft. Like if they started at 8 by 8:10, the Tennessee Titans should have made their pick, but what are you going to do? So any other questions, or Ben, if you have any follow-ups to Pickens getting traded, I don't even know if I answered the question other than saying that it makes a lot of sense. There is no latest, I guess. I think I heard that the Packers are interested, like the most interested team in him, which I think they drafted Christian Watson over George Pickens. So that is unfortunate for them that now their draft mistake is leading to them potentially trading a second-round pick for George Pickens. And like I said, it makes sense for the Steelers, especially. I keep thinking, Omar Khan's the money guy. So anytime he could trade a guy who's about to make a lot of money for a guy who's about to make a little bit of money, especially when you add in the age difference, it becomes notable. So Tennessee Titans still about to pick here. I haven't heard, is there any latest on whether Cleveland's going to trade down from the number 2 overall pick to the Jacksonville Jaguars? It seems like the Jaguars are the only team that really has what it takes to get up to 2 to take Travis Hunter, and that's what I'm most interested on. Ben Batt says if they don't move Pickens, it's unlikely they take a wide receiver. I tend to think so, and my thing that I like, or I don't like, I kind of like Calvin Austin. I don't think he's like like he's obviously small and like he lost his whole entire rookie season. That's not great. But I mean, last season he was pretty reliable in a lot of the situations that you put him in, which was deep passes down the field, which I mean, he makes, okay, he doesn't have, 100 catches a year, but when you're averaging 20 yards a catch, it's not like he's this, this like awful commodity in the NFL. So if you have DK Metcalf, there you go. Cam Ward just went number 1 overall. So there's my reaction is I'm not surprised. So it's going to be the 2nd overall pick now, which is going to be interesting. But yeah, I mean, if you have DK Metcalf, you have George Pickens, you have Austin, who I don't think is bad, and then you hopefully have Roman Wilson in the, whatever round. It just seems excessive. But I mean, the fact that they've brought in receivers such as they brought in Knoll, which is why I just happened to mention him. And I mean, they're always linked to anyone out of Ohio State. So, Egbuka at the right slot in the draft, or I think they also met with Trey Harris and Matthew Golden. They definitely brought in, but he's a 1st-round guy. So, I mean, they definitely have thoughts, or I think the conversations around, have they had trade conversations with Pickens? Yeah, for sure, because they've looked into 5 receivers that could potentially replace him. They weren't they weren't not obvious about that. So, Cam Ward went 1st overall. We're waiting for what's his name, Aaron, to jump on to the draft. My comparison for Cam Ward was Deshaun Watson. I thought it was a pretty good comparison because, first off, Deshaun, Cam Ward jumped around to schools, but they both went to ACC schools and really turned that program, back around for Miami, and really was the first turnaround for Clemson, was really seeing Deshaun Watson. They're both known for their improvisational skills, and it's almost like a gift and a curse for Deshaun Watson. I'm talking about Clemson Deshaun Watson and coming out of the draft Deshaun Watson more than whatever you see now Deshaun Watson. They both love to get out of the pocket. They both love to use their arm, although I think both of them have the downfall of its general accuracy versus they have precise accuracy. I don't think either of them are as precise as they want to be accuracy, especially when they roll out of the pocket and make those plays on the run. Oh, here we go. The Jaguars did just trade up to number 2. So that's cool. That was fun and a really interesting thing. So I can't wait to see what happened. Oh, wow. A 4th-round pick, a 6th-round pick for the 5th overall pick, a 2nd, 4th, and a future 1st. So the Cleveland Browns just got a future 1st-round pick to move down 3 spots, which is going to be so interesting because, I mean, we're going to talk about this forever because Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr., and Trevor Lawrence, I'm excited because that's wow. Those are 2 really big weapons. Or are they going to put him at cornerback? Let's pull up the Jaguars depth chart real quick. I would assume that they're going to, because everyone said they're going to look at a playmaker, Oh, they just signed Jordan Lewis. They have Tyson Campbell. And while Jerry Jones was also a slot, they just signed a slot in Jordan Lewis, which makes me think they have 3 receivers. Ace, what's up, buddy? Did you just see Hunter?
Can you hear me? Is my mic good?
Yeah, you're all good. And the Jags just traded for Travis Hunter.
I know. How about that? Liam Cohen trying to give away all his future picks for one player, but
a future 1st. But I was
just
on
one.
Yeah, I mean it's a couple mid-round picks, but then a future 1st-round pick. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I saw something where it was going to be 2 firsts, 2 second, 2 thirds. So
it wasn't a terrible trade, other than the future 1st, which is obviously that's what gets the job done. So
yeah, I mean you have to. That's the price to play. So
yeah, and I'll just plug. If you missed this, Ben or anyone else, go listen to the first 5 or 10 minutes. And I just talked about how the rumors were swirling that the Jags would go to number 2. And I broke it down from both perspectives. I said, here's why the Jags would do this. I said, here's why I wouldn't do this if I was the Browns, but here's why I understand why the Browns would do this. So go listen to that. And Ace, if you have any comments, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's Travis Hunter. And the first thing that comes to mind is Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter. That's nasty. And then it's how does offensive Liam Cohen, so you clearly have to have him position 1 cornerback, position 2 wide receiver packages, because you can't have cornerback packages like you were saying.
I know,
right?
But I just said I think they're actually just going to play him at receiver.
Straight up, just one position?
Potentially, yeah. And I mean,
that may piss him off to the point he doesn't want to play.
We'll see. I think that they're just going to say, I think that maybe they're going to put him in on what I saw is maybe on obvious man situations, and you just play him in man coverage. But I think this is I just went through their cornerback thing before you came in. I mean, they signed Jordan Lewis. They have Tyson Campbell, and they paid him a ton of money. And they have a hit in Jerry Jones in the draft, who's like a slot outside guy. And Jordan Lewis is a slot outside guy. And we just talked about on our podcast the other day, they need playmakers on offense.
Yeah.
I just think they're like all in. And when you really break it down, I think Hunter is a higher ceiling receiver than he actually is. I think like like you said, it makes sense because of all the package stuff. But I think that he's like such a high end receiver that it's like, hey, why not?
Yeah. It's hard for me to see him be like a pack or an all-time. So you're thinking he's gonna be all-time receiver, then package corner. So maybe like an old school nickelback, because the old school nickelbacks were always in the field. Okay.
Right. Or like a sub package player. Yeah. But even like a dime player of like, dude, guard Travis Kelce, just like, like man up on him. You know what I mean? Like we're only going to ask you to, on specific man downs, you take Travis Kelce and you take him. And that's like what they're going to ask him to do, in my opinion. Yeah.
If they can pull it off, it'll be impressive. I mean,
because they need the receiver help. I think this is for a playmaker versus, we talked about it. They were going to be, do they take Tet? Do they take Ashton Genty? No, they take Travis Hunter, who my comp, I talked about was Garrett Wilson as a receiver, like a real springy athlete who, and that's the thing with Travis Hunter is like that. He's 0 to 60. And he's like, you're just like, when you watch him, you're just like, wow, he really he goes so quick and so fast. He's really impressive. Go ahead.
There was a comment about him that he's the best player of this draft and maybe the best player of the past 10 drafts. Like, he's that good of a player.
Because of the versatility, which I keep saying, or like other people keep saying, is that I already compare him to Garrett Wilson, who was a top 10 pick and is about to be a top 10 paid receiver. And and he's like we said, he's not even playing receiver full time. He's in cornerback meetings for most of his time. Like, imagine if he spent all his time at receiver, he would be so much better than a Garrett Wilson type of prospect. I mean, that's you're putting him up there with Justin Jefferson and stuff. So yeah.
I mean, good pick. It'll be interesting. Good for the Browns too. I mean, I didn't think Travis Hunter was going to do a whole lot, if anything, but waste away there. So it's like, hey, let's go get more picks.
Yeah, it's like what I said earlier is that, there's a tier drop and they are clearly accepting the tier drop because, like I said, Travis moves different, in my opinion, from everyone else. So you are accepting that. But if you're the Browns, like, what are you doing? Deshaun Watson is not going to play next year and you're paying him like $50 million. Like, you're screwed anyways. So you might as well, build for the future and try and get a quarterback next year, I guess, with that future first.
Yeah. Do you think they go for Kirk?
I guess no. Yeah, I think they have extra ammo for this draft. They're going to take a swing on one of these guys and say, in the mid rounds or whatever, and say, if this guy's the guy, then whatever. But if not, then we would, like I said, they'd rather have the ammo for next year because I think they know they might be, I mean, you got Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, and the Steelers win 9 games every year. That's not what like they're going to be in last place again next season, and they know it. They might as well start Kenny Pickett or it was Joe Flacco. Then they have Joe Flacco. Remember?
Right? Yeah, they did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, well, I forgot about that too. Joe Flacco is going to start for them until he gets hurt or whatever.
How about Eric Armstead coming out for the pick right now?
Yeah, what is this? Yeah, for the Jags. Yeah, I was thinking like, wow,
crazy, right?
Yeah. All right, just announce Travis Hunter. Yeah.
I don't know if YouTube will let me have the draft on the background, so I'm just gonna. Do you think?
I know it wasn't an issue for me, so it was. Yeah, I'm just like watching it forward.
I got it here too, but I was just like, maybe I should. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I had the live reaction of I was surprised to see that. I mean, I talked about it. It was literally what I opened the show with, but then when I saw it happen, it was like at least a clip-worthy moment potentially.
Yeah, Big Ben in the chat dropping some new nicknames like he always does. T-Law, T-Hunt.
We've answered some Ben questions too. Yeah.
Heck yeah, number one fan.
Questions and comments. All your questions and comments, folks. They said both. That's interesting.
There was a segment before. I forget who the reporter was, but she was like, they have 3 cards for you. One's receiver, one's cornerback, and one's both. Which one do you think they use? He's like, it better be both.
Yeah, they said both. They started with receiver. No, I'm just kidding. But I think he's going to play receiver mostly. I think this is big for fantasy football. I wonder what's going to happen in Dynasty fantasy football drafts in a few weeks, guys. Woo, going to be interesting.
Is he a Florida kid?
Travis Hunter. I'd have to look it up. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, wow, that's cool for him. West Palm Beach.
Oh yeah, so yeah, he's going back home. Yeah, I love it. I think it's a great move for the Jaguars. I think I mean we all talked about it. Ben said it, you said it, I said it. I mean, Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, Trevor Lawrence. That's really, I mean, no excuses now for Trevor. Go win yourself, a playoff game. You're a talented enough kid. Go do it.
Go win yourself a playoff game. I mean, it's real. That's real.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the AFC, so if he does more, then it's like, okay, you're the real deal, Travis Hunter. But I mean, now it's like no excuses.
Than,
you need
now Cleveland Browns fans, like, when it rains, it pours, man. They have a chance at Travis Hunter. They give that up. The Deshaun Watson, like everything goes wrong there.
All right, so what's the speculation with them? Tackle?
Mason Graham next to Myles Garrett.
Or they could use Mason Graham. They could use a tackle too, though. So yeah, that's going to be.
They could use everything technically.
Yeah.
But what they don't,
they're a bad
Travis Hunter.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's true though. I think it's so hard because it's a very big tier gap in my opinion between Travis and I mean, yeah, who are you if you're the Browns? You're nobody right now. So even with Travis Hunter.
I'm just so curious. What did they tell Myles Garrett to get him to resign? Like, what was their future?
All the money. That's it. Yeah, here's like $8 million more than anyone else got. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess money does talk. Him and then they said the other one was DK. DK's like, I want to go somewhere hot and I want to play with an established quarterback.
I want money. Yeah, they don't want money. Which is fair. I mean, I would do. Yeah. I mean, they set the bar real high with Myles Garrett, so yeah, they paid him an exorbitant amount of money.
So Giants on the clock, they got a stick and pick. They got to go.
Yeah, you think it's going to be Abdul, right?
Has to be. I mean, it's clear. Like, I think there's a chance someone trades up in the first round, but McShay said earlier than this, Shedeur Sanders is Steelers are bust to be in the first round, so it's like. They're not going to go Shedeur. And then there was all those connections between like Joe Shen's son going to Ole Miss and all that. Like they're clearly going to go Jackson Dart. So
I was just talking about because you draft Abdul, do you trade Thibodeau to move back up into the first round to take a Jackson Dart,
Move Thibodeau for that?
Yeah, because you have Brian Burns. So you have Burns and Abdul Carter. And Thibodeau's about to get paid.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think about that. I forgot they traded for Brian Burns. Carolina, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, so I was pretty good for them last year too, like for a bad team, but
right. And so if that gets you, Jackson Dart or whatever, that gets you, up for that, then maybe that's what they do.
How do you feel about that? Giving up Thibodeau for Dart, whether you have depth at the position or not? Because
I'm not high on Thibodeau. If I'm like, and like I said, I'm like, if you believe in a quarterback, then swing for the fences. I get it, but yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest Jackson Dart guy, so it's hard to be like, oh, obviously do that. Here's a comment from Ben Bat. What are some details on the plans for our stream frequency? We're going to try and do at least once a week, maybe twice. We'll figure it out. But
definitely gonna figure it out. Maybe more of a like upload videos once a week. The live stream thing, we'll definitely figure that out. But
especially during the off season, it might be a little bit slower, but we'll start getting into some team previews and getting into some season stuff.
Fantasy football.
Yeah, fantasy football rankings. We're gonna do it all here. So tune in. Tell us what you want to hear. Do you want to hear us break down the games? Do you want to hear us talk big picture stuff? Do you want to hear us talk players? Do you want to hear us talk trade rumors? Do you want to hear us talk whatever? Leave your comments.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Pick is in. They ran that to the podium, so it's got to be Abdul.
It's got to be Abdul, yeah. So I think we both agree it's probably going to be Will Campbell with the 4th pick, but we're obviously it's not for sure, so we're going to see.
I mean, it's pretty much for sure. They said New England was just in Louisiana, like hanging out with him like a day or two ago.
It feels pretty for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it comes down to who's Cleveland going to take with the 5th pick.
Yeah, that one's going to be weird. Well,
can't be
They do lose Nick Chubb, right?
Yeah, but can you take Genty considering what we just said? You're in such a bad spot.
They're the Browns.
Yeah, that's fair. I would swing for the fences with probably Membu, the tackle from.
It'd be really smart if it was like, hey, Cleveland's up and Chicago trades to Cleveland again. They move back one more time and get even more stuff.
Right. That would actually be a great move for them. And you would start
Chicago gets Genty. They jump Las Vegas.
you would buy into the decision a little bit more, yeah, of them doing that. That would make a lot more sense, yeah. So there's Abdul. We knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, because another thing too about this trade, the trickle down or whatever you want to call it, is Genty was supposed to go to the Jaguars. So now that he's not going to the Jaguars,
right, it's wide open to where he's going to go. Vegas, or like we talked about on our last post, was the Bears, obviously.
Yeah, I like him to the Bears a lot. Vegas would be the other position. No to the Jets. Carolina, they just invest. What's his name from Texas? And the other guy, the guy from Oklahoma State, played for them really well. Chuba Hubbard.
Oh, yes. Carolina will take him now.
And then New Orleans, I mean, Kamara's getting kind of old and Kendre Miller, but they're not going to go running back.
Right. I think we are looking. Yeah. I mean, I think, like you said, Cleveland, it's not, it's not
out of the realm.
Right. It's not out of the realm. Raiders are obviously not out of the realm. Bears are obviously not out of the realm. So, I will say with Abdul Carter, since we should talk about all these players that, obviously it's hard to talk about one of the best players, but, a foot injury, he used to play linebacker and now he's playing off the ball, and he obviously plays, very wound up, but I still think, like I think I said in my post, that, he's not the Myles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Nick Bosa's sort of, surefire thing. I think there's still a few more questions of, if you hit that peak athleticism, maybe you get a Micah Parsons type of, real deal player, but I still don't think as a prospect, he's worth a number 3 overall pick because of this draft class. Like we talked about, I think the fall off from here is real, but I think there are questions with Abdul Carter as a player.
But I do think the one thing with him is he was a late starter to the position. He's just scratching the surface, just getting things going. So like, even with all that, he had some great production. So it's like his floor is high, his ceiling's higher. So
the upside is immense. And I'm not disparaging the pick. I'm just saying that, I have some concerns, and maybe another year he goes like 6th just because of, that's the type of player he would typically be. But it's a smart pick for the Giants, and it's going to be interesting to do. I mean, they have Brian Burns, they have Abdul Carter, and they have Kayvon Thibodeau, and they obviously have Dexter Lawrence, and I think they have another decent interior pass rusher. So, I mean, they have a group that, one of those guys is expendable, probably Thibodeau, who's due money. Raheem Nunez-Roches, who's a decent little player. So, I mean, they have guys up there, and they traded for Roy Robertson-Harris, or I think they signed him in free agency. So, I mean, they have guys up front to where I think they're going to trade Thibodeau at some point, I think they're going to trade Thibodeau. That's going to be my call.
There's some teams at the end of the draft, at the end of the first round, that could, like the Chiefs. I could see the Chiefs saying, "Hey, we'll move back for Thibodeau." Like, right? What are they? 34, 35. So it's like you're basically getting a first round pick still.
Right. Yep, that's the equivalent of a 3rd round pick or whatever to like move those couple spots or whatever, a 3rd or 4th round pick, which is probably what you're going to get for Thibodeau anyway. So
then the Jags are going to trade Trevor Lawrence for Shedeur Sanders. That's the next headline, right?
Oh, yeah, there we go. What about that? That was the rumor all week. The Browns are going to take Hunter and then come back up.
Shedeur,
that's over with. So I mean, not only in the first round, which is so interesting to me. I think we're eliminating teams overall in terms of, I don't know if the Browns are in on Shedeur at all. I don't know if the Giants are in on Shedeur at all. Like I think we know the Giants are a shuck team, or not a shuck team, a dart team. I think the Saints are a shuck team. So I mean, the Saints aren't in on Shedeur. Like who's in on Shedeur? And now I'm sitting here like, can the Steelers get Shedeur in the 3rd round? Like, is that what's gonna like crazily happen here?
I heard a story before we got on here that Brian Dable sent Shedeur like an install playbook to learn and then come out and meet with them, and he just didn't learn it and couldn't answer any questions, and they called him out on it, and he like responded to that negatively, so he basically like burned the bridge there completely.
Todd McShay said that he had a bad meeting with the Giants, so 2 straight. I mean, I think they're out on him altogether. So we'll see. I think, like I said, I think the Giants are a dart team. I think the Saints are a shuck team. I think the Steelers might be a dirt team. So we'll see whether it's at 21 or, like I said, maybe it's later, or maybe it's you trade Pickens for Shedeur or something along those lines. I don't know.
That was the report this morning. They're shopping Pickens around on it. Like, I mean, you knew it was going to happen at some point, but
we talked about it before you jumped on. Ben asked that question and we threw it on there. Yeah. So any other questions? Throw them here. We'll talk about it on the podcast. We are talking football all day. We're talking the 4th pick. We both think it's going to be Will Campbell. The first 3 picks have been chalk, other than I talked about. I opened the show saying the Jags might trade up to 2, so I don't think that was it was a fun surprise, but I don't think it's like a shocking surprise.
Pick is in. I mean, New England ran to the podium. They knew they were getting Will Campbell, no question. They're like, let's move on to the next one. Now Cleveland's on the clock. Do they shake everything up and add Genty? I'm thinking the more I think about it, it's like it's the most Cleveland thing they could do. It's like, hey, we didn't get Travis Hunter, but we got you Ashton Genty. It's like, come see him, sell some jerseys.
Yeah, I mean, here's what I keep saying is that all these dudes have flaws, in my opinion. I could understand looking at Abdul and saying, you know, we don't love that at 2, considering where we are. We put Genty as number 1 because he has such limited flaws compared to all these other guys. I think Travis Hunter stands away, in my opinion, because he offers it at wide receiver and cornerback. It's so much more valuable than Genty. But it's so hard to say, like if you said just, you know, pound for pound, pure for pure, is Genty that number, you know, does anyone else have less flaws than Genty? No. So it's understandable for them to look around and say, we view him as our number 1 player in the whole draft. Let's trade down, get a future first, and still take our number 1 player in the draft. That could be what they're saying, which, yeah, I mean, do we agree with it? Not necessarily. Is that what they're thinking? Possibly.
I'm just thinking about all the mock drafters out there crumbling their papers up and throwing to the trash once Ashton Genty went to, or the Jags traded up to 2.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, they still got Travis Hunter at 2, right?
That's what I was going to say. The board still goes chalk.
The board is so good.
Yeah, the board still goes chalk so far. Yeah, as long as Will Campbell goes, and then even if Genty goes 5, it's still a lot of people were saying that Genty would go 5. So
I forgot New England added Harold Landry this offseason. I feel like they added a bunch of defensive players and kind of low-key bolstered it without people knowing. Was there others that you could think of?
Here, I just pulled up their thing. Carlton Davis, a big-time cornerback. Robert Spillane, a starter at linebacker. Harold Landry. Tonga, I mean, a rotational nose tackle. Milton Williams, a big-time player. Jack Gibbons is a rotational guy. Marcus Epps plays some, what's it called? Yeah. So, I mean, this pick has to be offense. There's just no doubt about it, you know. And their next pick has to be offense.
Those were some good ads, though. Like some decent,
right, which is why now, yeah, I mean, that's the move is, you know, take those defensive ads and now build through the draft in terms of, you know, guys that can grow with your guy Drake May here, you know. Take a tackle here, take a receiver in your 2nd round pick, and, you know, now you're starting to build something up there.
Yeah. Vrabes. He's going to be an interesting head coach there in New England. Is he going to try and do some of the same stuff he did in Tennessee? It seems like he's trying to do it the Patriot way. No hoodies, no headphones.
Which makes sense why they would take a guy like Will Campbell, because he's like the tough guy of the group. I'll say with him too that you know, it's easy to say about the length, but I mean, watch him play. It's hard to watch him play and say that length isn't an issue. It just is. I like, especially against Shamar Turner and like guys, like even Pierce, where you're like, you know, these are potential NFL players that are giving him fits. These guys are going to give him fits, in my opinion. I would be worried about that, you know, compare him to a Joe Thuney type of player, to where Thuney played in the Super Bowl and he got the Chiefs there because he can do it. But is he then he got burned in the Super Bowl because you can only do, there it is, Will Campbell, 4th overall to the so yeah,
he's been an all-time guard though, and he made that just random transition out, right?
They got an injury at left tackle, so they had to shift.
He played tackle because
during their playoff run, and he really, you know, he was just getting by every single week of, you know, because he played it in college just like Will Campbell, and you know he's like you said, an All-Pro, potential Hall of Fame player. He's won Super Bowls with Tom Brady and Mahomes. You know, he knows what he's doing, and he can slide out to left guard for high leverage moments. But like I said, if you really watch it, it's just getting by level of play. It's not like, oh, you can, and that's where I think with Will Campbell is that you can get by with Will Campbell at left tackle, or you can have an all-pro guard. And it just seems like they're just choosing to have a guy who they can just get by with, which I don't know if that's the best pick, especially at 4th overall.
I mean, I'm looking at their roster right now, and if you know better than me, but it doesn't look like they have studs at guard either, so they could kind of use help. You like him?
He's very good, yeah. Okay. But I mean, look, their left tackle is Fedarian Lowe. They need to do something there. That's really bad. Yeah. Cole Strange is a former 1st-round pick. You're right that he could lose his job. But I mean, they even these guys, Layden Robinson and CD So, could also start at guard. To me, when you look at this roster, they need a left tackle with everything in the world, and that's what I think they're going to put. I think they said, you know, a half inch be darned. We think he's a really tough guy. I mean, everyone talks about, you know, sets the tone, brings the culture, 3-year starter in the SEC. I mean, I don't want to disparage Will Campbell, you know, due to my opinions of him. A lot of people think he's a guard, but they're obviously going to play him at left tackle, in my opinion. I understand it because, like I said, all those things.
I just realized they have Morgan Moses playing right tackle. How 30 something in the NFL, so they're going to need right tackle here soon too. So
that's what I'm saying, is that this whole draft has to be offense. Like you said, they made great additions on free agency defensively. This whole draft for the Patriots has to be offense.
Yeah.
So yeah, now we're on to the Browns.
Help out Drake May too. Like you invested enough in Drake May, put everything you can to give him the firepower.
If they don't take a receiver with their second pick, I would be really surprised.
So Cleveland, this is intriguing already. Like 2 picks in, it got electric. 5 picks in, can Cleveland keep the electricity going? Take Genty. I'm looking at Ben's comment here though. Davis wife.
I don't know what that is. Yeah.
Me neither. Okay, thanks, Ben.
Yeah. For everyone else, leave comments if you do have questions. Let us know what you mean.
Appreciate it. Oh, I love that. All the draftees in Green Bay, if you're gonna watch the videos when they're like, "How do you like Green Bay?" They're all like, "Yeah, it's pretty good." And then Cam Ward straight up is just like, "Man, this place sucks. Ain't nothing to do here. I can't wait to get out of here."
Tommy.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's good. Good for him. Happy he's finally made his dream come true.
For sure.
It's weird they have like Madden ratings there. Overall 85, athleticism 88. Do you see that?
No, they have Madden ratings.
Are you watching on no free ads? You watch on NFL Network. It just said overall 85, speed 88. It was really weird.
That's a little over the top. The Raiders, Mark Davis's wife is going to be mad because she wanted Ashton Genty.
Nice.
That does okay. It does make sense. Thank you. The explanation does add up here.
Man, I love the draft though. I want to say it was 2018. I went when it was in Dallas. I went for the first round. Really cool experience seeing like all the different networks around and stuff. But like there is so much different. Like it's vendor city outside of the stadiums. Everyone trying to give you free stuff and things like this. It's cool though. Definitely worth experiencing.
In Pittsburgh, I think I'm going to go on Saturday because I think it's just going to be a zoo the first couple of days, and then Saturday you're going to walk around, see the whole field. It's going to be
next year's in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, next year.
Oh, I'll go to the draft next year for sure.
Yeah, we might do a little live stream or something from the draft.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
down at Permanis or something, right?
Yeah. We got some viewers in here. All you viewers, start commenting. Leave some comments here, guys. Everyone, we're hanging out, watching the draft. 4 picks in. It's going just the way we have thought so far, but I feel like this is the turning point of the draft right here.
Yeah, pick is in too. So they not only traded back, they knew exactly who they were going to get.
I'm starting to think Genty, man.
I'm really starting to think Genty. It's like Nick Chubb. Wait, they brought Nick Chubb back, didn't they? He's on. No?
I don't think. I would take M'Bu here. I'm just putting it on the record that I would take the right tackle from Missouri. But I think that they're going to take Genty. I'm going to predict Genty. I'm going to say what I would do is M'Bu.
Yeah, I mean, M'Bu here would be a little bit surprising. They not for the pick, but the player. Like I think
swing for the fences.
Yeah.
In my opinion, like I see him as the highest upside player left on the board. That's just my
Conklin, Teller, Pocic, Bitonio.
I mean, Conklin can't stay healthy, and your left tackle is DeJuan Jones, who you probably just want to shift him to right tackle. I mean, you're going to draft M'Bu and play him a right tackle, but either way, yeah. I mean, Mason Graham, interesting.
See, I was thinking they may want to add someone there by Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mason, like I think I said earlier, Mason Graham probably has the highest floor of any player in the entire draft. His ceiling, we'll see. I think his floor is. I mean, I think he's such a solid player. He knows how to use leverage. He knows how to play with his hands. Yeah, I mean, I think he's really good. He can. He's so he's not small, but he can get under people. I already said he can play with leverage. So yeah, I think it fits well.
He's arguably fifth best player in the draft too. So like, good place to get him. If he fell, it'd be a gift for everybody else. Really was hoping he kind of fell to the Niners myself. So
I think I rated him over Will Campbell, although it's like they're close. Yeah, I like Mason Graham a lot. So here's the Browns depth chart. Shelby Harris, Malik Collins, which is like a fun little signing, and Mike Hall, who like is injured and facing, or no, I think he got over. He was facing like legal issues. I think he got over them, but I think then he got injured. So I mean, they're weak up in that interior. They're pretty weak up there.
Former 49er Malik Collins.
And he's good, but him and Shelby Harris are both, I think, at least over 30. So that's
I think Shelby was on the Vikings last, right?
Shelby's
so they're on their second.
Yeah, Shelby. I think he was on Seattle. He was on Denver. He was
second or third team now. So
yeah, he's been everywhere. Yeah, so I mean, he was great when it was like they had a couple guys in front of him. It was like, and they're mixing Shelby Harrison. But now I'm saying Shelby Harris is like the first name I'm saying. It's like, okay, they need
not anymore.
Right. And that's the thing. The thing with the Browns is that you need help everywhere. It's like what we just said. You're going to tank a year. You're going to start over for a year. Take the guy that, like, they just hit a double here. Like, they just hit the safest player. Like I said, I would maybe swing for the fences. They just said, you know what? Let's just hit the easiest pick in the draft. There's no way this guy's going to fail. And he's just going to be on our team for 10 years. He's never going to cause any trouble. He's going to be pretty good for 10 years. And we're just going to be happy with him. I think that's what they did there.
So now Vegas is on the clock. I kind of thought Jalen Walker here made sense, but now that Genty and Walker are there, do they go Genty? Do they get their running back? Do they stick to? You think so?
Yes.
I mean, that defense needs some help, man. They need a corner. They need some linebackers. They do need a running back, though. They have no
that here. Who are you going to take at 6? Jalen Walker. But I mean, he's a pass rusher. You're taking him to play pass rusher.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, to me, it's a tackle or it's Genty. And to me, I'm looking at these tackles. I'm like I said, I like Membu a lot, and I wouldn't hate Membu. If I were them, I would probably take Membu, but I think they're going to take because DJ Glaze as a rookie wasn't bad last season, honestly. So, just saying.
Yeah.
So, I mean, look, I'm not like some O-line expert, but Colton Miller is obviously a star. DJ Blaze wasn't good, or was pretty good in my opinion last year. JPJ sliding in at center. Dylan Parham's not a bad guard. You really need, one other guard. So, I think, they were linked to Kelvin Banks, and that makes a lot of sense because you just slide him in. And like I said, that huge hole at guard right there.
There was people saying that Kelvin Banks were going to be going early too. So
yeah, I can see
that would make some sense. Vegas is interesting because Tom Brady being an owner now, like how's he going to influence the draft? Pete Carroll. That's part of the reason too why I'm leaning defense because Pete Carroll loves to draft defense. But
yeah, I know. Everyone's saying then about like him in beast mode and all that. But yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, get his own beast mode. I don't totally see the comparison between I guess the break tackles and
the running game. Yeah.
Yeah, the comparison there was a little bit stretched. But Jalen Walker, I don't know. I'm going to put my hat on. I think the pick should be Jalen, kind of like you were saying for the Browns. Right. They should have Membu. I think the pick for the Raiders should be Jalen Walker. He's versatile. He could fill multiple holes. He could help them. The pick is in. So they obviously, yeah. It's interesting because years past, they would milk the clock out. And they would take every single TV time and give you every minute. Now they're just getting the picks in and getting on with it.
They did that for Cam Ward, but yeah, they're not really doing that here. I think it's going to be Genty. And honestly, yeah, the more I think about it, I think I don't know if I would take Genty if I were them, but I would have a hard time here because I just don't love these prospects in this top 10. It's unfortunate, but it's true.
And that's one of the hard things about the draft because you said it multiple times. Everyone has flaws. It's not one of those bang, bang home runs.
There it is, Genty.
Spytek said his wife was going to leave him if he didn't draft Genty. So,
yeah, hey, sorry, Ben. Ben Davis.
I think that's what Ben meant. John Spytek said his wife was going to leave him. Right,
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that was good.
Either way, sorry, Ben. His wife is not going to be mad. They drafted Ashton Genty, which, it makes sense. Like I said, I think they look at that offensive line, and especially, in my opinion, it depends what you think about DJ Glaze, and they think DJ Glaze, they're obviously in higher opinion than some other people. So I think, and like I said, I just think Genty's so clean compared to all these other guys. It's so hard.
He's going to look filthy in the silver and black. He's going to look so sick.
Yeah. So now for the third straight pick, I'm going to recommend a team take Armand Membu. Although I did think Vegas, I didn't think they would. But I think the Jets, it would make a lot of sense here. Although
they're smart. This is exactly where I think Membu should go. Protect Justin Fields, whatever you're going to do with them. Tyler Warren could make sense. They need tight end. So I thought Mason Graham would have been a good move here, but he's already off the board. Jalen Walker could be a pick. Like Aaron Glenn could surprise everybody and go Jahdae Barron. He could just shock the world and do that.
Yeah, I mean, Jay talked about that. I just think for pass rusher, it's like, and I know these are obviously new front offices and things, but it's like you just drafted Jermaine Johnson in the first round. You just drafted Will Campbell in the first round. It's like, I know you still need and all that stuff, but it's like, like you said, you got to help Justin Fields out here, whether it is a tight end because you just lost Conklin, and this would obviously be a versatile playmaker in Tyler Warren, or Carter Warren, 4th round pick from Pitt, tore his ACL, missed his rookie season, played a little bit last season. That's not what that's not what you love at right tackle. Why don't you upgrade that? And I mean, other than that, when you look at their O-line, other than that, Fashanu, who they took top 10 last year. Simpson, they gave a bunch of money to in free agency. Tittman, a 2nd round pick. Vera Tucker, a 1st round pick. I mean, finish it off. Finish it off with a right tackle. I think it's down to those two. I would prefer M'Bu. I would understand if they went Warren, and I think all the rumors say that they would take Warren.
I think the smart pick is tackle. Go offensive line is all when in doubt, protect your quarterback, especially if it's a running quarterback like Justin Fields. Do what you can. Part of me is wondering tight end, and I'm going to ask you, Colson Loveland, Tyler Warren. Colson Loveland to use the better blocker of the two. You're trying to do it to all around protect Justin Fields. You do think playmaker, of course. Would it make sense to go Loveland over Tyler Warren if they did go tight end?
See, here's what I would say. It's different than I think Warren is the better blocker, but I think the question is it's more of Loveland is such a dynamic receiver versus, to me, I don't think Warren is that dynamic as a blocking threat. So I think it's Warren to me is, like I said, it's get him the ball in his hands and let him rumble. That's what he's best at. But other than that, I think he's more limited. Whereas Loveland, he can stretch the seam, he can run comeback routes, he can do I think Travis Kelce is so fluid, and Zach Ertz. A lot of people compare him to Zach Ertz. He's so much more fluid in the way that he moves. So I think if you want a blocker, I would probably go to Warren because the upside of what Warren could be as a blocker is so much higher. But I just don't think that he's as finished as a blocker to warrant a top 10 pick is, I guess, what I'm thinking is that. And whereas Loveland, I think he's a ready-made receiving tight end. And I don't think he's going to Kyle Pitts had a lot of issues too, but I don't know. For some reason, I just think he's a little more fluid, but I can understand that his downside is Kyle Pitts-ish, but whereas Warren, his upside is I don't think he's Gronkish, but people say Kittle, in that range. Some people even say Laporta is a better blocker than Laporta. So I could see. It's tough. I mean, I think Loveland is also an underrated blocker. He's a pretty good blocker, but I think he's more of that loose receiver, whereas Warren is such a that I will destroy you receiver.
Yeah. Who are you drafting first if you're on the clock?
I like Loveland because I think I think there's less projection with him. There's more, like I said, I think you could line him up one-on-one with somebody, and I think he would beat them more often. Whereas I think Warren could beat them in that jump ball situation, and he's a bigger physical presence and could do that. But I think Loveland could create separation more often, whether it be a safety or, like I said, a dime backer or whatever, whoever you tend to put on Loveland. And he's enough of a blocker that you respect him that some people compared him to Kincaid, but I just think he's such a better blocker than Kincaid. So yeah, I mean, I do think he's a good blocker. I don't think he's a bad blocker, but I think Warren is a tough guy, but I think he just lacks I guess technique blocking, which is fair because he's been behind, this is his first year starting.
Yeah. I like this question. What's your best Ashton Jeanty comp?
Right. And it's tough because a lot of people, it's a combination of physical and all that stuff. So two of the really interesting physical comps that I came up with are J.K. Dobbins and Kenneth Walker, which are obviously they don't do him necessarily justice, but also if he's a high end version of both of those two, and a real healthy J.K. in terms of just because they both run so low to the ground and they can both hit the hole and really go with that dynamicism. And I mean Kenneth Walker just springs off tackles in the same way that Jeanty does. It's just, I guess, the combination and the fact that he's probably a more dynamic receiver, Jeanty is. So a lot of people say Maurice Jones-Drew, but those are the two that I came up with the most that I just think especially in today's NFL, that how he plays style-wise.
I really like Kenneth Walker. I've heard the Maurice Jones-Drew. The one I heard a bunch, and I know we don't like doing lofty comps, but LaDainian Tomlinson was kind of interesting. It was I could see some of that for sure. So Those
Genty
were
and Hunter are like the two that you could probably give like pretty lofty comps to.
yeah. And whenever I saw LT, I was like, okay, I'm noticing that one for sure. But Kenneth Walker, I like that one. Just the way like tacklers kind of slide off him. He can do power. He can bounce it outside whenever he has to. It's
like really Walker at his best. Like when you really like at his best. Like when he's like one of the best running backs in the league. But then it's like like same with J.K. Dobbins, I guess. And like if you combine those two of like how J.K. can hit the holes and how Kenneth Walker can bounce off tackles, if you combine those two, then that's where I kind of like really come up with a Genty. And they both run so low to the ground, and they can both do that where they can both break off tackles, they can both hit the hole. But yeah, then like the combination of like proficiency at both is where I come up with Genty, I guess.
Pick is in for the Jets. I'm curious to see which way they go. New head coach Aaron Glenn. How does he set off the new tenure?
Yeah, it's got to be one of those two.
Are they going to be the same old Jets, or are they going to be the new age Jets?
Yeah. Already paying Justin Fields. That's an interesting move.
Will Johnson. I'm thinking he's going to slide, but I think Arizona would be – they have to take him if he's there. You can't go past Arizona.
But they need, D-line. They need trench play. It all depends on, if Harmon or Walter Nolan. Mason Graham went higher than expected, which in my opinion means that those guys are going to go higher than expected. So we'll see.
I think after if I could see Jalen Walker, I'm going to keep saying that name all night, but I could see Jalen Walker going here. But after this pick is going to be the onslaught of
Carolina's going to take Jalen Walker, yeah.
Well, yeah, they want him, but I'm saying we're going to start seeing a bunch of DNs go here soon.
The Jets take Armand Membu.
Wow, yeah, good pick.
I mean, we just talked about it. It makes so much sense. You could take the tight end in Warren, but I just went through why I just think he's got more projection in him than Brock Bowers. Like I said, and it's obviously a very different draft, but and Brock Bowers would probably have gone fourth or fifth in this draft, or whatever. He would have went ahead of Genty as a prospect. But Brock Bowers went 11th or 12th. Like tight ends, Brock Bowers was so much better than Warren and Loveland. So it's it's understandable to say it's hard to take the Warren with the 7th overall pick with his projection versus now you just, like I said, now you have 4 first-round players on your offensive line. 1, 2, 3 first-round players, a high second-round player, and then John Simpson, who you paid a ton of money to. That's 5 good assets.
And you got one of the most athletic tackles in the draft too. So put that with an athletic quarterback, that's a good pairing there.
Remember, is excellent in the running game, especially getting out in space in the running game. That's what I noticed him really the most is how excellent he is in the run game. I thought he could really move his feet, well. So
and then he performed extremely well in the combine, Trent Williams type numbers. That's all everyone could say. So.
Right, which solidified his spot in the top 10, in my opinion. And that's what I said is, if you're going to swing for the fences, Mason Graham and Genty are the two, like I said, they're doubles to me. They're easy picks. They're safe. They're both going to be good players. There's no doubt about it with Graham and Genty. But to me, Membu, swing for the fences, swing for the home run. And, if this dude could be one of the best right tackles, like you said, he has the athleticism to be one of the best right tackles. That's a home run swing to me.
Man, Carolina, they got that pick in there fast. They knew who they wanted, and it's Jalen Walker. Both. It's got to be. They've been talking about that all.
Jalen Walker. Their defense is terrible. Yeah.
Michael Williams, Jalen Walker, but they've been talking Walker all off season.
Here are their pass rushers. The ghost of Jadeveon Clowney, DJ One on a decent deal.
I think Clowney's even playing linebacker for them.
And he's going to do they're like a 3-4 outside. Yeah. So that makes Jalen Walker a perfect fit here. So, it's Clowney, it's DJ Wonnum, Patrick Jones, who they just signed, and DJ Johnson, who is not very good at all. Their pass rush is awful.
Thank God they traded Brian Burns.
Yeah. Right. I got some sort of asset, or did they use that asset already? I don't know. I'm guessing they have an extra pick this year or something.
Yeah, they have. I'm trying to think what they got for that.
A pick swap. Yeah, the 39th overall pick. So what, Tyler Nubin or whatever? I think they drafted Tyler Nubin. Which, he's a good safety. So, the Giants are looking – or wait, the Giants got Burns. What am I talking about?
Carolina, yeah.
But either way, we both think they're going to take Jalen Walker here.
I mean, they've been tied to him all off season. They've had multiple
Yeah.
visits.
It would almost be surprising if they didn't take Jalen Walker here.
I'm trying to think. Michael Williams, maybe who they have opposite J.C. Horn? Who
They could really, I mean, Mike Jackson. They could really use a cornerback. They could really, they could really use anybody on defense. They're in such a bad spot here.
Jahdae Barron, Mike,
it would fit.
Will Johnson.
I mean, it just seems like, you know, if you could transform Jalen Walker to the edge and you have the defense scheme that makes sense where these edge rushers are playing off the ball like Jalen Walker is gonna, if you can get the most out of him, he's another, you know, swing for the fences. Let's, you know, who cares if he doesn't have the highest floor? Let's see if we can turn this guy into the best pass rusher.
So far, who do you think's had the best pick, best fit?
I mean, I keep saying I love, obviously, the Jets with Membu. I think that makes a lot of sense for them. And then obvious. What's that?
I like Cam Ward to the Titans. I think that was a good pick. Like, I like his composure in the pocket. I think that's a massive deal. Like, if you can at least be composed in the pocket, you could slow the game down a little bit. It helps you with your reads and stuff. And he has a decent arm. I mean, he makes all the throws. I like the Cam Ward move.
They needed to, obviously. Like, they have a big need for, you know, quarterback. And I mean,
they've missed on the past two.
Right.
Malik Willis, Will Levis.
They just signed Lockett on last night, so they got
signed Lockett.
Yeah, they're probably going to draft a receiver here to kick off the second round at some point. You'd assume they still up there, so it makes a lot of sense.
After Carolina's New Orleans, they're a tough one to put it. Like, they obviously need like D-line or tackle. Membu was high on the board for them. Banks could go there.
They've been connected a lot to. We may see a Georgia thing here, where both the Georgia guys.
Oh, Michael Williams there.
Yeah, whether it be Jalen Walker followed by Michael, or I mean, I guess a lot of people are saying, "Oh, you know, Kelvin Banks is going to go in the top 10," and all of a sudden we're getting to pick 9, and he's nowhere near getting taken yet.
Yeah.
So let's see what happens with that. Whether he goes.
I could definitely see Kelvin Banks go there. I mean, they were whatever the term is, they didn't re-sign their outside tackle. They refused his option, his 5th-year option. So
Trevor Penning, yeah.
So they need tackle as well.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints could go a lot of directions here. They're another team that doesn't have, you know, the best roster. They re-signed Chase Young. Cam Jordan will be gone next year. Isaiah Foskey has not been a hit. Carl Granderson's a good rotational guy, so they could definitely use a pass rusher.
They relied on Cam Jordan for years. They got to find his replacement. Let him teach him for a year, give him the ropes.
And that's why I think Michael would be a good fit. Michael Williams or whatever. I think he would be a good fit there because he's such a big body, similar to Cam Jordan.
Shamar Stewart.
Yeah, that would be an interesting one too, and that would be a little surprising. But I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I have Shamar over Michael. I think he's got. I think he bends the corner more. I think Michael's a better. I think he has a higher floor as a run defender, but I think Shamar, like I said, do you want to swing for the fences or not?
Yeah.
Tetaroa McMillan, they went offense. Wow. Carolina. Woo-wee. Here's a surprise. All right.
They needed defense so bad. Okay. I'm going to start being a homer here, but I really hope Jalen Walker, he's my guy. Yeah, he's inching closer and closer to the 49ers. I'm thinking this possibility.
I mean, now we're going to – it's like the Membu where we're going to say it for every team. You started saying it. Now I'm going to say it. Well, here, I think the Saints could probably take him here. We just talked about it. You know,
but do you think if he's on the board at the Niners and they don't take – like, do you think that they got to take him? They need edge. They need linebacker. He's versatile. Yeah, he can help them both ways. He's a established linebacker trying to learn pass rush a little bit better. So it's like you can use him.
When I think of the Niners, I still think of, especially with those edge rushers, like big, long edge rushers. So I still think of guys like Shamar and Michael Williams more than I think.
Gross Matos. Like, makes sense. Like they need D-tackle more. So I could even see it being like a Walter Nolan and start jumping.
I could see that too. Yeah. So, I mean, I could still – who knows where Jalen Walker will go. But, yeah, potentially he could fall.
So and I mean, Tetaroa McMillan to the Panthers, though, that's it. That is crazy. So Xavier Legette and Tetaroa for Bryce. That's, I mean,
and then Adam Thielen
move for Bryce.
They need to ensure that there is stuff around Bryce Young. That's for sure. Dave Canales. I was trying to think. He had Coach Mike Evans for a year, so he obviously
he gets his version of Mike Evans in a way.
jump ball winner and things like that. And I mean, obviously, yeah, you use Tetaroa down the field as that ball winning X receiver and things like that. And then you have Leggett, who you could use on screens and things like that and get the ball in his hands more and let him do stuff after the catch more. So it kind of limits his usage. And then obviously Adam Thielen in the slot. So there goes Jalen Coker. Any Dynasty fans out there that were interested in Jalen Coker, that's probably the end of that.
And you just said Lockett too, right?
No, that was Cam Ward. Tennessee just signed Tyler Lockett.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, Carolina, I mean, their defense is still going to be awful at this point. We just talked about their edge rushers are terrible. They do have they signed Bobby Brown. They signed Tershawn Wharton. They bring back Derek Brown from injury. They have Shai Tuttle. They have Ashawn Robinson. They have a good defensive line, but boy, their edge rushers are bad. Josie, Jewell, and Trevin Wallace, terrible linebackers.
Yeah, they needed some help on defense. They neglected that. So I don't know what
bad. I mean, their defense.
Maybe they thought the draft is deep. They'll get some defensive guys later. Let's take advantage to get the stud weapon now.
And you're thinking it's Bryce Young's third year. And I mean, listen, like we can't have, first year was awful. Second year he rebounded, but are we for sure he's the man? We really need to find out more than we need our defense. And then if we know for sure, then let's go do it. But now that it's his third year, I just talked about earlier, by that third year at quarterback, you really need to decide and you need to say, okay, now's the time to do it. Or, now we don't know, because like I keep saying, all the guys who actually get to the fifth year option, it never works out. Daniel Jones got to the fifth year option. Trubisky got to the fifth year option. All these dudes who get to the fifth year option, Justin Fields got to the fifth year option. When you get to the fifth year option, you never make it. Within 3 years. So they need to know right now with Bryce Young, because if they go through this year and they say, we don't know, then it probably means he's not going to be very good. And that's it. It's just the way it comes at this point.
And year 2, Dave Canales, like you're set with him. You got the playbooks figured out and stuff. It's like you had here's your chance now, make it or break it, or we get rid of you. And they even thought it seemed like they considered getting rid of him last year without much of a chance. So now they got to give him all the chance in the world
because he came back and he played strong towards the end of last year. Yeah,
and I will say Chuba Hubbard turned it on. He played very well and really helped that offense.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, the defense is going to be bad still, but Jalen Walker wasn't going to change the entire defense. I talked about, he's still, in my opinion, I loved him. I thought he played very tenaciously. I thought he played with his hair on fire. A lot of people say he's like a culture guy, a leader guy. But, I mean, there's obviously questions with, he played the majority of his snaps at linebacker, and now he's going to play edge rusher majoritarily. And, you can say, this guy did it, that guy did it. It's like, rare cases, it's hard to pull off. And the Dallas Cowboys just said, enough of this. We're going to play Micah on the edge full time, because it's hard to actually do that. So I almost view Walker as a full-time edge and just say, at that point, he's kind of just an undersized edge rusher. So that kind of makes sense with the fall.
Yeah. I just thought,
but I still think he's going to go 9th overall right here.
I just realized too, Carolina got Jatavion Sanders last year, big tight end, another good weapon when he starts figuring things out. So they may have a solid offense next year.
They're all in on offense. Yeah, like I said, they're all in on no more excuses for Bryce Young. We have 2 running backs. We have a receiver now. We have Leggett, who's in his second year. We have Thielen, who's obviously a long-term guy. Yeah, you said a young tight end, a couple running backs. The offensive line isn't bad. We have 2 tackles that are worth it. So Ben says, why isn't this Shedeur? We talked about, it seems like the meetings with Shedeur haven't been very good, especially when it comes to the Giants and Saints. McShay said that he thinks the Steelers had a good meeting with him. I think it also comes down to, his pocket presence is horrible, and he wants to play hero ball.
Kellen Moore too. I feel like it comes down to Kellen Moore, and because that's the quarterback he wants to work with in the future, or is there someone else later in the draft? Or there's someone's.
They're about to pick Kelvin Banks.
Hey, top 10. There you go. They need to tackle Penning.
We did talk about that.
Yeah, Penning not taking his option. So
right. Yeah, you probably stick him. Well, here's the question, which is going to be so interesting, is that Kelvin Banks played left tackle at Texas. Fuaga, who they just drafted in the first round last year, played right tackle at Oregon State, but they moved Fuaga from right tackle to left tackle. And arguably, he didn't live up to expectations as a left tackle last season. That's just how it goes. So do you move Fuaga back to right tackle and then you stick Banks in here at left tackle?
Natural positions?
Probably. Yeah. It probably makes more sense. and then you tell Penning to kick rocks or whatever, So yeah.
Or do you play Banks at guard for a year or two and then move him
Right.
out to the tackle, let him transition out when Penning's gone?
Right. But yeah, as I'm looking here, they just gave Dylan Radin's not big money. He could obviously be replaced just as much as Penning could be replaced. So yeah,
and the versatility is valuable. If you do give him a year or two at guard, let him then get experience and then play tackle.
Yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, especially stick him at guard for next year. Let Penning walk the year following, and then you stick him at right tackle. So it makes a lot of sense. I mean, the Saints, you got to build foundation pieces here. That's the other thing with the Saints is that it's just the reality, especially with teams like the Browns and the Saints compared to the team like the Steelers. Like I said, I mean, Mike Tomlin wakes up out of bed and gets 9 wins. It's not like they're not going to just lose every game next season. It's going to be hard. Whereas the Saints and the Browns are probably teams that you could argue, considering this quarterback news just snuck up on them versus the Browns are obviously going to be horrible next year because they don't have a quarterback and a ton of cap space committed to them.
I think it was a smart move. I mean, quarterback's still a question. Derek Carr is going to figure it out. Is he faking the injury? I don't know why people are saying that, but he definitely wants out of there, it seems like. Yeah. So I don't know if he's going to be the quarterback next year. So they got to get that figured out.
It seems like what he's saying in terms of the faking the injury is if I don't get this protection, then I'm not going to risk, this thing that the Saints are seeing as not a big deal. But he's saying, well, it's a big deal to me if I'm not getting that long-term protection. Then this is a big injury, So it is it's not like he's faking it, but it's maybe he's exemplifying it due to the fact that he doesn't have long-term security is how I kind of view that. So we got the Bears. Interesting, yeah.
Bears got their pick in. Who do you think it is? You have a pretty good take on the Bears. Maybe Tyler Warren.
Yeah, that seems to be a big trend, especially we've talked about, Ben Johnson, get him a playmaker, everything like that. I would probably go with an edge rusher here. It'd be tough to, it's tough to sell Shamar Stewart with such a high pick, but I would swing for the fences and probably go with that. But I think, if I had to project, I would probably go Tyler Warren because I think Ben Johnson wants his guy. And like I said, I think people have compared him to Sam Laporta and that you get him the ball in his hands and he can really do things. So I think Ben Johnson could obviously see that and the idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking you got to kind of give Caleb, similar to Bryce Young, it's let's start giving him all the opportunities, seeing if he's the guy or not. I mean, it's only a year or two for him, so he's going to get more chances. But then Tyler Warren, tight end, inherently gives you some protection in pass blocking. So, I think when you have a young quarterback, it's good to have a good tight end. I also like Cole Kmet. I don't think he's the worst.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't think it's it's kind of overkill at a position you really don't need overkill at. You know? But then it is, Ben Johnson didn't draft Cole Kmet. So all those sort of thoughts, and Ben Johnson if he has a specific plan for Warren, and he says I can use Kmet as the inline tight end, and that allows me to put Warren in a chess piece role because I already have a tight end role. Now I have a chess piece role. Then you say, okay, you're drafting an offensive weapon. You're not necessarily drafting, another tight end. The Bears are celebrating right now, so we'll see who they took here in about a minute.
I mean, they overhauled their offensive line a little bit in the offseason. They got Joe Thuney.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense. It's really, some sort of weapon because Ben Johnson wants his weapon. Or like I said, it's probably a pass rusher, eat your vegetable type of pick of, just continue to add to that defensive line because that's where they're weakest at right now, especially in terms of defense. And, we know trench play is what wins. And, you can take the next guy that's not Abdul Carter, whoever you want to take. Ben said he likes the idea of the Steelers trading back if a team wants to move up for Shedeur. We keep running into teams don't love Shedeur, it doesn't seem like. So it really is, like I said, it's almost the question is, can the Steelers wait until the third round? Probably not. Some team will jump up at some point.
Yeah, it sounded like if the Steelers don't take Shedeur, he may not even go in the first round. So a team moving up on for him isn't likely. Here's the pick.
But a lot of things have been wrong already, too. It's true. Yeah, I think it's fair that Shedeur has flaws as a player. He has flaws in terms of, he's Deion's son. That brings baggage to him. All those things that I understand why he's falling for sure. I didn't see him as, this high-end prospect. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think if I'm Ben Johnson, I got to get a toy to play with. I'd get my Sam Laporta or something. But
defense probably is the smarter move for them too, because they got. I don't know. That's how I personally feel. They got their 3 receivers. DeAndre Swift's not the end all be all at running backs. They could add there, but they're not going to do that here.
Right. No, I think it would make sense, especially like I said, if you view it as an offensive type of weapon and you view it as, this is Ben Johnson, going signed, sealed, delivered type of stuff.
I'm going to use him every way possible. Put him at center.
Right. Yeah. I mean, he did. For Penn State, he took snaps. He
snapped and then caught the same ball or something like that.
Yeah, he did all kinds of crazy stuff at Penn State. So it makes a lot of sense.
I'm pretty sure that play, he snapped the ball, ran a steam down the middle of the field, and then caught a jump ball in the end zone for touchdown.
Yeah. I mean, he brings a lot of versatility, obviously. All right, here we go. And then we got your Niners. Nice.
Yeah.
Colston Loveland, they went him over.
Crazy. I mean, there you go. Here's
the thing is that this is a slot receiver. Colston Loveland, you know what I'm saying? It's just different. That this is your slot. This isn't your tight end. And that's what I was saying about the offensive weapon thing. Cole Kmet is your tight end. Colston Loveland is your slot receiver. And then you got more in Roma Dunze. And now you got big boys. These are big. You just had a big slot.
He's also thick. Sam Laporta-esque in ways too, like you were saying. He's going to be utilized in all those ways. And did they have?
I get it.
What's that?
I obviously get it. We just talked about it.
But they have Brock Wright at tight end as well, and I mean they utilize him well enough that
they're thinking of Detroit because of Ben Johnson.
I am thinking Detroit. Oh man, yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
but Cole Kmet can play that role, that Brock Wright type role now. It's to be utilized just as much. So
yes. No, that's what it is. Yeah, is that, and that's what I said. Warren is viewed more as that inline guy. I just don't think he's as good as let's take him in the top 10. I just don't see that. I see Loveland as he's a slot guy. He's a guy that, like I said, Zach Ertz, Travis Kelce. Yeah, that's Travis Kelce is way too high to say, but he just moves fluidly like that. So I mean, I get it. I get why I would take him over Warren too, because I just think he's more like I said, he's more fluid. He's more fluid. Yeah.
Dynamic. Now we got the Niners on the board. So this is one of the moments where it can break your heart. Niners on the board. My draft crush is still there. Jalen Walker. Could they get Jalen Walker?
I know. My
honestly,
take, I think it's going to be Shamar or Michael, because I think they like those big edge rushers more.
I'm thinking it's going to be Shamar or Walter Nolan, because all the reports this week have been it's between those two. I don't know if they thought Michael and Jalen Walker are going to be there, and I have been saying any Georgia guy, if either of the Georgia guys are there, take them. They'll both help you. Michael, a little bit more refined of an edge rusher, so you get Walker, a little bit of a linebacker. Got to pick which one you want there. Shamar Stewart, just a freak of an edge rusher, just a complete monster, but no production in college, or very little, I should say. And then Walter Nolan, I mean, he may be the best D tackle in the draft behind Mason Graham, and it's the off-field stuff there with him, and the Niners kind of have shied away from that, so it's hard for me to see them go in Walter Nolan, but
like I said, I think Mason Graham going higher than expected means they're all going to start, at some point this run's going to have to start here. And I mean, I think, the Niners, if you're not going offensive line here, I think you're crazy. I know a lot of people have said Tyler Warren. I think that's a little over the top too. I mean,
I don't see that. They got to get a deal done with George Kittle. I mean, this may be them not trying to do that and getting ahead of the George Kittle contract and getting and Kyle Shanahan could utilize a utility player in Tyler Warren. But they've come out and said that their biggest needs are defensive line. They offensive line. They even said wasn't a huge need for them for some reason. A little surprising. But I mean,
did you see, was it Daniel Jeremiah gave them Gray Zabel?
Yeah.
That's a shock
me in the past. Solomon Thomas was a shock. Ricky Pearsall last year was a shock. I mean,
that's Kyle Shanahan. That's one of his, the running backs, and I think that's his. Like I said, I think it's a center, because I think he wants that athletic center who can really get out in space and move, like freaking Alex Mack and.
That was Jake Brendel though, and he had a chance at Drew Dahlman in the offseason, and he didn't go for Drew Dahlman. I mean, I really.
Zabel. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know. I don't think it's Zabel. I think you signed Zabel, but if you did, you have your defensive line just ripped down to the studs.
Yes.
You got no linebackers. You got to add something on defense. They have kind of a plan at cornerback. They've added some playmakers or some free agents. Good.
I think Walter Nolan, Shamar Stewart, Jalen Walker, Michael Williams.
Yeah, gotta be one of them.
Yeah. And then, like Zabel's like 5th on that list. And then, kind of goes.
Let's shake the whole draft up and go Cam Scattaboo right now.
There you go. Really change things up. Jalen Milroe, trade.
Yeah, right. Oh, hey, that would really shake things up, wouldn't it?
That would shake everything up. Yeah.
I'm going Milroe. If the Steelers don't draft Milroe, I'm going Milroe watch for the Rams, though.
Yeah, I think we even talked about it on our show. I think we both said Milroe to the Rams and the Lions. We both said would, not in the first round, but would make a lot of sense at the right time. They would both makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's what's so crazy is that you keep trying to match up who's the Shador team, and it's the Steelers, and then there's then who else? I don't know. In the second round, I don't know who in the second round would take him.
And it's interesting how many positions have slid. Jahad Campbell, linebacker, still there. Will Johnson, top cornerback, still there. You got a lot of the top players in their positions still out there.
Well, for those two, first off, I'll say Jahad has a shoulder question. I know that's going to potentially cause him to fall. That's worth watching. Will Johnson, I mean, had a bad season with an injury. He's only a zone cornerback. He got burnt a lot. He's not a man guy. He has short arms. Yeah, he didn't run in the 40s. McShay said it was around 4.5 something. I mean, this is a dude that, I probably wouldn't take him in the first round either. I mean, he's got so many questions. It's tough.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry that your sophomore year was so much better than your junior year. But I mean, I watched his junior year and I was like, people think this guy's good. What are we talking about? This is some tough stuff. I mean, he made some good. He would jump on the ball. He would play off coverage. He has really good eyes. But I mean, I was confused by Will Johnson being so high, and then his pre-draft process played out.
Yeah,
unfortunately. So yeah, I mean, I think we could go ahead of him, and I think a shocker would be if somebody like Harrison, due to the 30 or the 40, goes ahead of him. Or, I like Trey Amos a lot. Would be a shocker, but I mean, who knows?
Amos and Harrison, I mean, they could just pass both those guys up, fall right into the mix. They're that good. Will Johnson, I never saw with him. Jahdae Barron, I'm a little bit biased on. I think he's one of those guys that is a little bit more of a zone corner, but I think he's the best corner in the draft. Thorpe Award winner. He's good. You're getting a football player when you draft Jahdae Barron. So
he's a slot to me, though. Yeah, he's. I mean, Jimmy Ward was a good comparison for him, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and Jimmy Ward was a safety in college.
Yeah, right.
Him and Jaquiski Tartt.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fit, or it's a stylistic similar. They play similarly. So, yeah, here we go. We'll see who the 49ers are going to take 11th overall.
Got 11 picks in the draft. D-line here makes way too much sense. You can go Arion Ursary, maybe trade up for him in the second round. Maybe get Josh Connerly. I don't know if you have to trade out for him. You may be able to get him at 43.
Right.
So, and then there's going to be some D tackles even in the second round too. So Tyleik Williams might fall. So who's the guy from Oregon, the D tackle? Caldwell, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. He could be there in the second round.
Oh yeah, he will be there. Yeah.
So it makes sense if you can get a really good edge setter or Michael Williams. I'm starting to lean that way the more you talk about it, but I hope it's I'd be super down for Jalen.
There are 6 edge rushers and 4 D linemen who I think could still go in the first round. And we got 20 picks. There's still 10 guys. So I mean, D line has depth.
That one's for the 49ers.
Here we go. Roger, who are they going to take? I think
you're a little ahead of me, so I want you to tell me when you hear it.
All right, I will. It's I mean, D-line of your preference in my opinion, so we'll see. Michael from Georgia.
There you go.
I said I think it's a stylistic fit.
I'm interested. That's interesting to me. They did have him. They had him visit 2 or 3 times, so that should have told me. But
yeah,
he's really a pure pass rusher. They need more pass rusher than they do the hybrid linebacker, so it makes sense.
That's what what's his name? Chris Kusarek, the D-line coach. That's his type. That's his type. He likes those long arms. He likes setting the edge in the run, getting after it. I mean, I think it's a really good fit. I think, like I said, I think he's another one that, his physical traits show that he should have a lot of upside as a pass rusher. you never saw it, other than like people are like, oh, his freshman year you saw it. It's like, okay, that was 2 years ago. Like, sorry that, these last 2 years you haven't really seen any upside as a pass rusher. And then he didn't do his combine and his pro day were, just average testing numbers. But I mean, I'm watching the videos now of, he's got the longest arms. His physical traits are good. He obviously has flexibility, although he didn't show it in his testing numbers. And his floor is so high as a run defender that he's going to be, whether it's, Cleveland Farrell's obviously an awful comparison because, it wasn't a good, but it's like even Solomon Thomas has been in the NFL for like 10 years. Like if he's not going to be like some star, he's going to be in the NFL for like 10 years bouncing around. So he's going to be a good player. Yeah. Cause it's just how high can that ceiling go as a pass rusher is why he, fell to 11 and why we weren't like, oh, he's the obvious pick at 11. Those are the questions.
Yeah, I think when he puts the 49er jersey on, you're going to see shades of like Aldon Smith in ways, just that long-bodied, pure pass rusher, get to the quarterback.
Yeah. The two names that I compared him to, Greg Rousseau and Chase Young. Big bodies, athletic body types, long arms, can get after it in the run game. And then Rousseau, it's like Rousseau's probably the perfect one because it's so hot and cold of like some moments you're like, geez, Rousseau is just beating the crap out of these people. And like, he's so, strong. And once he gets his hands on you, you're screwed. And then for like 3 straight games, it's like, well, Rousseau doesn't have any burst. And, the Bills need an edge rusher. And you're kind of just like, where's Rousseau for this game? Especially in those playoff games. And then during the season, when it's closeout time, who's there closing things out is Greg Rousseau. That's kind of how I see Michael Williams.
Yeah, I like the pick. I mean, any D lineman would have been a good pick there. They so depleted. So picks in for the Cowboys. Matthew Golden here is what I'm thinking maybe.
Especially with what's his name gone? Tet.
Yeah, they could go Jahdae Barron opposite. Oh no, they got that brand.
They rushed up. They're already here. I mean, how long has it been? I feel like we've been pausing.
Yeah, that was quick.
Here's Goodell. I think it has to be Matthew Golden. Tyler Booker. That were
Bama guard
last night. Yeah.
That's a reach. First reach of the night, I'd say.
I want to say, I think it was Jane Slater that shouts to Jane Slater, who I think said this was a possibility, the Dallas beat reporter. Ben said Golden to Dallas. We all said Golden to Dallas. We are all.
I thought Golden to Dallas too.
I mean, this just shows, I guess they really, league views Tet as this tier above, and really, I mean, the draft is just taking turn after turn after turn now. And listen,
that's a reach. I'm calling it. That was a reach. Bringing tables out there. If you're going to go interior lineman, that could even be more digestible at this point.
That's a big boy reach. Yep. But wow. I mean, you look at it and let's just call it on paper as, they drafted Tyler Guyton in the first round. There's your left tackle. Terrence Steele, they gave some money to. They really like him at right tackle. Cooper Beebe in the 3rd round, but he was a rookie last year. They like him. Tyler Smith at left guard, 1st round pick. They really like him and they're going to sign him. You just slot this guy in at right guard. There's your 5. Now their offensive line is obviously complete. I didn't see it with Tyler Booker. I mean, and listen, Brandon Thorne, who's like the best offensive line, like media person there is really high on Tyler Booker. I watched him and I mean, he's a power player. He uses his hands well. I didn't see much more than him. And I mean, I'm kind of, one of my biases as a lineman guy is like, I really like the guys who can move, like Membu who can move, Gray Zabel who can move, like the guys who can like get out there and like move their feet are like my favorites. And like, sometimes I'm biased for the better and sometimes I'm biased for the worse. And that I like the movers more than like the big guys, but I just don't see it with this Tyler Booker. He's a powerful guy. You can get that in round 3, a powerful right guard. Sorry.
Every team that is a form of the Shanahan system needs agile offensive linemen. You're running an outside zone, you're running play actions, you need all that stuff. So a modern offense, it's almost
this guy doesn't fit that at all.
Yeah. There's so many better. Well, I guess they're really focusing on guard. He's the best pure guard, but this is a reach for that. So
yeah, it's tough.
Like Cowboys fans, last offseason, Jerry Jones tells everybody in Texas that we're going all in this offseason. We're doing everything we can to win a Super Bowl, and he does nothing. Then they go into this offseason, they talk about having to save money, but they're still going to add strategically. They don't really do it. And then they add Tyler. And then they start talking about Ashton Genty to the Cowboys, Matthew Golden to the Cowboys. All the fan base is hype, and they get Tyler Booker. I talked to somebody. I live in Austin, Texas. I talked to somebody today at work that's a huge Cowboys fan. And I said, if they don't get Matthew Golden or somebody like that, is that going to be the final straw for you? And they were like, it might be like all these years Jerry's just letting us down. So.
And now, an offensive line usually is like a safe, smart pick. But I mean, this is a guy, like I said, I just don't see the athletic upside. He went to the combine and didn't post athletic upside.
This is the one time where this is not a safe pick either, because like he's he's a safe pick for 12 though. It's so hard to digest him at 12.
Yeah, I need to try and pull up. I think Marcus Mosher, who covers the Cowboys, had a list of every like the tackles who go in round one and the guards who go in round one. And the guards who go in round one isn't really like a list you want to see yourself on. It's just that's not the position. Like I said, especially with a guy like Tyler Booker, who is his thing is power. Like I said, you can find that in round 3. It's a hard thing that with Genty, like we said, running backs replaceable, this and that. I mean, he's a special character. Tyler Booker is just a really solid player. I don't know.
Yeah. I'm just trying to wrap my head around like why I guess they could have tried to trade back. There wasn't a big market for trading back, so they just took their guy. They took the person that was at the top of their board, who they thought filled the biggest need. But it's just a giant question. I'm trying to wrap my head around it. Dolphins are on the clock now, though. I saw a chat. Ben was saying Warren makes sense to Miami, and though Jonnu Smith had a great season last year for them, kind of really showed out and found a role with them, it does make sense. Warren could play well in that Miami offense. They I don't know if Mike Gesicki was there with Mike McDaniels, but they had Gesicki in that role, and he kind of didn't really play it. So what do you think?
Matthew Golden if they want to trade Tyreek Hill, it makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
Jahdae Barron, they've been tied to him a little bit.
Yeah, and they obviously need secondary help.
They're trading Ramsey, so that's a matter of when, not if.
And I guess the reality is that if Warren doesn't go here, then Indianapolis is like they just run to the freaking podium. So
that's who they've been winning all season. That's another one. Well, we said that about Carolina. We said Jalen Walker was their offseason.
Yeah. That was funny because. And we also were like, well, if it's not Jalen Walker, it's the other Georgia guy. And then it was a receiver. Yeah.
No.
So
I was honestly surprised to see Jalen Walker keep falling, though. That's Atlanta.
I'm really not, because I think, he's so much cooler in imagination than he is in real life. Is like, and he's cooler in terms of
flashes, man. I
love him. He plays very hard intensively. But when it comes down to what position are you, like, it's cool to say, he's going to do a little of this and a little of that and a little. It's like, who does that? Like 3 guys, like Frankie Louvu does that. Like, I don't know, like no one really does.
Not many, but in the right system, you always want to say. But yeah,
I know that's what I mean. And then it's like, but then even San Fran is like, like we don't have the right system. Like our system is our system is long arm pass rushers, and that's
if I'm being really honest myself, like the hybrid guy would have been nice for one season, but the long term thing, especially when you run the wide 9 like Chris Kasurek does, you get that edge setter, you get that pass rusher, you get Michael Williams. So him and Nick Bosa bookending their defensive line that allows Etur Gross-Modest to move inside, play some D tackle, and he could be the more like 2-position guy versus having to switch between the linebacker. So I get it. Yeah. Nice move.
Here's the 4. There have been 4 guards taken in the last 5 years. Kenyon Green, bust, is already on a new team. Zion Johnson, they're talking about moving him to center. Cole Strange, we just talked about the Patriots need to replace him. Then Elijah Vera Tucker, who's like a decent starter. Like,
is that first round total or in the top?
In the last 5 years, in the first round, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, don't draft a guard in the first round, I guess. It's like,
yeah,
they're not working out for you. And then Dallas went ahead and did it. So,
and they were celebrating too when they showed that draft room. They were pumped, man.
Yeah, it looks like a safe pick or whatever. But yeah, I really don't know what Miami's going to do here. I kind of think it was going to be Jahdae Barron more than.
I think that makes sense. That gives them a little bit of breathing room to trade Jalen Ramsey.
They need some O-line. Maybe they just come up and take, whether it be Zabel or Donovan Jackson and say, hey, the run just started.
Josh Simmons?
I think Simmons would make sense. Yeah. My question with Simmons is, it's not a question with Simmons. It's what do they, maybe this is a good idea because what do they think of Patrick Paul, who they drafted in the 2nd round last season, is like a developmental guy. Obviously didn't play much because of Teron Armstead, but he did miss some time. But then it's with Simmons, who's coming off of an injury. Then you say, okay, we give Patrick Paul some time. If Patrick Paul shows something, then we really have something, then we figure it out. If he doesn't show anything, we have Simmons, who we're really happy with. So it'll be interesting to see what they do there.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the leg injury definitely hinders the pick and makes it kind of a little bit hard to do, but I don't know. I mean, I want to go. What's that?
You're to the point where Warren really is like, and even like I said, I'm not like a high Warren guy, but I mean, you're looking at these other guys,
He's going
on my board is like Shamar Stewart, who has these huge questionable, production. Jahdae Barron, who, is a slot guy. Matthew Golden, who, is a speed guy. You're kind of just getting into like, yeah, these are your like, here we go.
I think Warren's going to be going to Indianapolis
after this. But Kenneth Grant to Miami. That makes sense, though. And he is my next guy.
That is even interesting.
I knew the D-line was going to start going soon. I said, if Mason Graham goes high, they're going to all start going high, which listen to this, Ben, if you're listening, I don't think Derek Harmon's going to make it to 21 now based on Arizona needs one.
Cincinnati I think Derek Harmon's better than Kenneth Grant.
Right, and that's what I'm saying is that now that the run starts now, watch him fly off. Watch him fly off the board here in these next couple picks. I'm telling you, we'll see.
I think it's a reach. I think Derek Harmon's better. Walter Nolan's better. Heck, I think even Tyleik Williams had a little bit better tape than Kenneth Grant did. Sure, he might have been a little bit overshadowed by Mason Graham at times, but
I think Kenneth Grant is a grade the flashes, and if you see the flashes, he just moves. He moves differently than other human beings do, and he's one of those that people at his height and his weight and his size, they just don't move the way he does. And yet, it's not put all together quite yet. And yeah, he's got to figure this out and figure that out, but. Yeah, like big dudes like him, and like he moves fluidly for such a huge human being. Like you assume he played basketball growing up because he just has like the footwork of like for how massive he is. He's a nose tackle basketball player, and that's where like I understand because like the upside is like high in my opinion with him.
Yeah.
What do you think about
that Florida guy that leg press is like
400 pounds? Like has I mean, I'm like intrigued by it in like the 7th round. But yeah, I mean, I don't think like he's much of a like actual mover. Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt you there. What were you going to say about Kenneth Grant?
That I compared him to Linval Joseph, but I think upside wise, if you're screaming upside, and I mean, Linval Joseph is high upside for sure already. Like that's a great starter. He's got some Dexter Lawrence. And like when I was watching Mason Graham next to Kenneth Grant, I was saying it was very similar to when you watch Christian Wilkins next to Dexter Lawrence. And it was like that, and they were just beating the crap out of people like, the Bash Brothers. And you're like, that Christian Wilkins is the guy that everyone's paying attention to. Mason Graham's the guy that everyone's paying attention to. But man, that nose tackle is a freak of nature, is what you kind of just kept saying. Like that's what it reminded me of with Dexter and Kenneth Grant.
This God,
we're saying this every What everyone thought was going to happen is Warren was going to go 10 to Chicago, and then Loveland was going to go 14 to Indy, and now it's vice versa, which whatever.
I mean, there was rumors Denver was trying to trade up for Colston Loveland. They had a big Sean Payton loved him.
Yes, right. But I mean, now that it's to Indianapolis, I would be stunned. Honestly, I couldn't think of another person that Indianapolis would draft here. This would be shocking.
I mean, Jihad Campbell would be a better pick if you ask me for Indianapolis, but
arguably. But like I said, with his shoulder is I think what's really limiting his draft stock.
Or, I mean, they got Kwity Paye and.
Tyler Warren, there it is.
There it is. Okay, they knew they've been wanting him for weeks.
They've been talking about it forever. Yeah, and I mean, it makes sense. What's his name? Shane. What the heck's his name? Jesus. What is his name?
Steichen?
Shane Steichen. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Shane Steichen is obviously an offensive mind. You look at it and you say, Anthony Richardson, this is quite obviously his last chance. We need to get everything around him. We've got Jonathan Taylor. What helps Jonathan Taylor? A run game. What helps a run game? A guy who can block like this. What also helps is that we have look at the receiver core. I mean, it's nice. Pittman's a big body receiver. Yeah, he's not your number one receiver that you really like, but he's a big body guy. Alec Pierce can stretch the field vertically, and then you have Josh Downs doing all the slot underneath shifty stuff. And then you put Tyler Warren.
Could still be good too.
Oh yeah, geez. I mean, Adonai Mitchell, and now you add in Tyler Warren is like that. Like I said, chess piece, offensive weapon can really help Jonathan Taylor in the run game. you look at this and you say, I mean, there's not a single excuse in the world for Anthony Richardson. If you're not the man next year, then you're the heck out of here. So I understand it from that lens of Carolina did it, Chicago did it, Indianapolis did it. If you have a quarterback and they're in their first 3 seasons and you don't know if they're the man, you better find out. It's just the facts of the matter. It's the truth. Yeah.
And they tried some late round freak tight ends and Mo Alley Cox and Jelani Woods and stuff like that. Just didn't work out.
It hasn't worked out. And they just said, you know what? Let's just take the guy that, and like I said, I mean, now you're talking about, I mean, Josh Simmons is probably the next guy on my list, injuries. Shamar Stewart's the next guy on my list. Huge questions with, I mean, I can't even defend how unproductive he is. John A. Barron, like I said, I keep saying he's a slot guy. You just look at these guys and you say, why wouldn't we take the tight end with the high upside?
Now we sound like a broken record for War. Oh, go ahead.
Ben says that he's wondering if Hampton will fall to them, the running back. I mean, it makes sense, but I guess the one question is Denver at 20, because now that those tight ends are gone, you know that they want an offensive weapon. And 2, if you're the Steelers and you need a quarterback and you take a running back, like what are you doing? With
I was going to say the need for Shador is bigger than Harvey and Hampton.
Oh my gosh, I don't know if I would.
The argument though could be is if Derek Harmon's there, do they risk taking him and trading up for a quarterback because Derek Harmon fits the defense so well?
Line and running back is so much different to me, way different to me.
And Marvy and Hampton's kind of gonna go at 20 right now, unless someone. I can't really think it.
I would be pretty surprised. I mean, people are saying, "Oh, Matthew Golden could go 20." I think that they need.
No, they were trying to trade up for Ashton Genty. They need running back.
Sean Payton, like that's his offense is tight ends and running backs. Like we watched the Saints for years. Tight ends, running backs, tight ends, running backs. Like when does they even have a great receiver? Just Michael Thomas because they fell into it. Yeah, he drafts tight ends and running backs, and that's what he would do. Here we go, Atlanta. I mean, this is another pick your pass rusher of poison. Who do you want?
Jalen Walker. Keep him in Georgia.
Oh, yeah, Jalen Walker for sure. Jalen Walker, Mike Green, Shamar Stewart, even James Pierce if you want him, Ezra Raku if you want him, Harmon Nolan if you want him.
I think the best pick for them would probably be the pure pass rusher, either Mike Green because he has the production. But I mean, Shamar Stewart would be kind of a better gamble if you're going to go for it. I think, but Jalen Walker, keep him in Georgia. I'm going to sound like a broken. I'll say it time and time again. But
yeah, we've been saying it since 8, but I mean, yeah, they have to. But I keep saying, but I get it. Yeah,
one of these I'll be right on.
All right, Ben comes back and says the argument is that you have Rodgers this year, you look for a quarterback next year, or even Milroe or Ewers later. I think the one thing is that I don't think Milroe falls until you're picking the 3rd round. We talked about Detroit.
He doesn't fall. You're picking the 2nd round.
They don't have a 2nd round pick.
Oh, okay.
So that's even worse. So that's what I'm saying. It's almost like, crap or get off the pot type of mentality. And then in my opinion, and I think a lot of people's opinions, maybe, I mean, a lot of people like Hampton. I like Hampton. He's fine. I don't think he's like this transcendent running back at all. And I think that, the upside of, in my opinion, if you like Milroe, just take him at 21 then, because the difference between Milroe or, whoever you want to take at 21, and like a guy like Ewers, a guy like Howard, a guy that you're going to get in the 3rd round versus Hampton, who you're going to get in the 1st round. And let's just bring up this list of running backs: Dylan Sampson, RJ Harvey, Cam Scadaboo, DJ Giddens, Devin Neal, Damian Martinez, Bashal Tutin, Jordan James, Ollie Gordon. Like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Pick your poison versus no, you got Shador, Milroe, or you just hope something falls to you in the 3rd round. I just don't love that philosophy. I mean, and like he said, maybe you do just come back for next year. But I mean, then next year you're stuck at what? Pick 22 again because you have Aaron Rodgers and you went 9-8 and lost in the 2nd round or in the 1st round again. And then you're picking at 20th again. And you're saying, well, I guess we got to trade up next year. And you just take, it's like, dude, you can go 9-8 and forever, or you can take a swing. And like I said, even if what I like about the Steelers is that 2 years of Kenny Pickett, they said, nope, no, enough is enough. And that's what I said, is you got to find out in those first 3 years. And they said 2 years, enough. If you draft a quarterback in the 1st round and you say that isn't our guy and that leads you to your next quarterback, that's so much more valuable than being stuck in 9-8 and forever. And I mean, yeah, Hampton and then Will Howard in the 3rd round is 9-8 forever, so I just don't, that's why I don't subscribe to that.
And they say there's 30 starting running backs in this draft. 30 starting running backs. So it's
I cut myself off because I was being a little stupid with I just went on and on with a list.
No, but I'm with you. There's 30 starting running backs. So that,
I can't get behind
the first round, and then maybe Marvin Hampton to the Broncos. That the fit makes sense there. But when you're the
I don't love it. I just think it's what Sean Payton does. Yeah, I don't love it. Yeah,
well, they also cleaned out the house. So I can't think who they have.
I wouldn't be surprised if they took Travion Henderson, because at least in terms of a game-changing player, an explosive player, Travion is that. Hampton is just like I said, he's like eating your vegetables, and he'll get you the stuff, and he has enough game-breaking mentality. I know a lot of people said Joe Mixon is a high-end comp, which is a top 10-ish running back. Great. You know what I mean? Great.
Yeah.
You got a top 10-ish running back. How spectacular. That's not. It doesn't do much for me at this point.
And as a top 10 running back worth a first-round pick, that value.
I don't think so, with how replaceable. And at least Travion Henderson, you use him in the passing game. You use him in jet motion. You use him in different varieties that you can make the argument. I have Henderson ahead of Hampton, and I'm right about Loveland over Warren, so I'm 1 for 1, baby. Let's go. I'm just kidding.
Atlanta, though, still milking this clock down. Are they trying to make him deal? What are they trying to do here?
Trade out or what? I know. I keep thinking Arizona and Cincy are interior defensive line spots, and we have Derek Harmon and Walter Nolan. So, and I know Atlanta, they need edge rusher more than they need interior, but do they do that? Are they looking for people that are going to jump Arizona and Cincy, knowing those are interior defensive line teams? Atlanta has Ruka Roro, who they drafted in the second round last year, a little bit high based on his performance. Onyemata, they have they have 2 rotational guys, and then Kentavious Street and Taquan Graham. They need some help on the interior. They need some help on the exterior. They need some defensive line help.
They need defense. That's pretty much the only thing I could think of.
Yeah, it's the same as San Fran. It's just which one do you prefer? Because there's plenty of them. Like I said, I think I have 5 edge rushers and 3 interior defensive linemen that I still think just pick your favorite of those 8 guys. There's 8 guys.
And they're really milking this one out, though.
Surprising, yeah. I thought they would be right to the table. Maybe they didn't
Super
expect
excited people in Green Bay to be standing in the
Jalen
cold.
Walker to be here, or they were fielding trade calls.
Yeah. They showed that shot of the entire crowd outside, just a bunch of excited people in the cold of Green Bay waiting for Atlanta to submit their pick.
Classic. Yeah, and Atlanta never drafts pass rushers, and they never draft Georgia players. So it'd be fascinating for them to draft a Georgia pass rusher here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do it at times, but they very rarely draft Georgia players, and they just can't hit on their pass rushers. I think Vic Beasley was their last one.
So Arizona's next. Who do you think they go?
I think their interior defensive line, Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon. They signed Dalvin Tomlinson. They're going to kick Darius Robinson inside. They do have Calais Campbell, but he's super old. I still think that that's what you upgrade on, and those are those are the best players available. We know Jonathan Gannon builds up the front and doesn't look at the secondary as much. Jalen Walker from Georgia. So there we go, the Georgia pass rusher to the Atlanta Falcons.
There it is.
Yeah.
So they just bucked the trend there. Georgia player and the edge rusher.
Pass rusher. Yeah. So the Falcons fans have to be happy for the first time in Falcons draft history. Falcons fans will be happy with that pick. I'm
happy because I don't have to say his name anymore.
I was going to say, we like to try and talk about these players, but I feel like we've been talking about Jalen Walker forever.
Yeah.
We talked about why I understood why he fell. We've talked about why we think, he's going to be a team captain. He plays really hard. He can play a versatile set of skills.
He's kind of a jack of all trades, master of none at this point, though. He needs to hone in on a position.
Right. And the assumption is that if you have him play full-time edge rusher and you really have him put his head in the books, focus on his craft, he's that type of person. People talk about the upside being like Micah Parsons. Let me look up my comps real quick. Hassan Reddick and Baron Browning. Hassan Reddick's probably a really good one.
Yeah, I like that one. And I mean, if you're getting Hassan Reddick at 15, that's a good pick. So
it's a good pick, especially in terms of like if you get those highs of Hassan Reddick, you know, and that is, I mean, Hassan Reddick was literally a linebacker at Temple who turned into an edge rusher in the NFL. And Arizona started to use him the wrong way. And that's what the issue with these guys is, that if they go to the wrong spot and they start being used the wrong way, you know, he's this nothing burger in Arizona, and then he goes to, I think it was Carolina, and finally somebody says, wow, look at this, all this untapped potential. No wonder he was a first round pick. And then the Eagles pay him, and it's like, oh, well, now they're just going to get they're going to reap the benefits. So it's like, it's all about finding the right fit, which, you know, so hopefully Atlanta knows what they're doing here.
Man. Yeah, no, I like them pick for sure. I got to say, I hate this big hat trend. Those things are dumb.
It's so weird. Yeah, I don't get it. I can't believe that actually took off.
I can't believe it's because of Gilly in Philly. He's just wearing it all the time. They won the Super Bowl, and now.
That's right. Yeah, people did love that about him. All right, so I said interior defensive line. What do you think if they don't go interior defensive line here?
I mean, I feel like they could use. I feel like I've been repeating myself over and again, but they could use any defensive player. Will Johnson, I think, would be a good pick here. Secondary, add him.
Right.
I mean, I prefer Jahdae Barron over the two.
Right.
I think they probably.
You love Jahad Campbell, and I mean, I keep mentioning his shoulder.
Yeah, but I mean, like, is it hard to pass up on someone like Shamar Stewart or James Pierce here? So it's like,
right. I think we're in agreement that it's got to be defense here.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning. It's like, okay, can we get the best player, the number one player at this position? So that's why I was thinking like Campbell or Johnson, but
right. I mean, I guess technically a cornerback hasn't been taken considering Travis Hunter. You know, yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, true. I forgot about it. He would be the number one, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Jahad Campbell feels a little early for him, but Tampa Bay's only a few picks away, and that didn't feel too early, so they could definitely do that.
In my opinion, this is the Jahad Campbell range of like, if he doesn't go 16 to 19, he's probably falling out of the first round because of, like I mentioned, you know what I mean? Like it's either like one of those like all or nothing sort of, you know, either we red flagged him with his shoulder or we didn't. Is kind of like, this is do or die time right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just looking at the roster here.
Or if not, 19 would be Jahad's floor if he was like healthy.
Like their corner, Sean Murphy, Bunting, Baron Browning. I mean, not terrible, but could be better. Their D-line could definitely use some love. Josh Sweat was a nice ad.
That was a nice ad, which, leans towards them going interior over exterior or edge rusher, in my opinion. And I mean, Kenneth Grant I think Mason Graham going a little bit earlier pushes Kenneth Grant up a little bit earlier, pushes, you know, one of these guys like Walter Nolan or Derek Harmon, in my opinion, is what the pick should be now. So we'll see.
I mean, is it weird to say Gray Zabel? He's.
No, I was actually just looking at that, and I said, you know, the only reason what's his name put them to the Niners is because somebody's saying that Zabel has steam. You know, it wasn't like, oh, Zabel to the Niners. It was Zabel has steam high. Let me find a good fit, and he just thought that, you know, the Niners were the fit. So actually,
I can see Zabel here.
I wouldn't be stunned. And I mean, listen, in my opinion, if you're Arizona, I think trenches. Okay. You know, like, okay, I don't think, you know, especially because they have Paris Johnson and Jonah Williams and Josh Simmons is the next tackle. And like, I don't know if that's the move, but like, I just think, I mean, if you're Arizona, build up the trenches here. I think there's more options on the defensive line, but I mean, if you think Gray Zabel is your guy, then like, he's your guy.
And I mean, looking at the upcoming picks, I could see Seattle going Zabel, so it wouldn't be a bad move to get ahead of them now and taking him.
They'd be reaching, especially, like I said, I think Jeremiah, like getting that out to the media shows that it wouldn't be reaching. Like, oh, Jeremiah thought he would go 11th, and he went 16th. It's not a reach. Like that already, like, you know what I mean? Yeah,
and we're slowly creeping into towards the Pittsburgh territory now too.
Yes, which is going to be really interesting. I mean, we knew – they're going to either pick a quarterback or a defensive lineman, I think. And Ben talked about Hampton. He's obviously still here. We're going to project him to go 20th to Denver. Walter Nolan went 16th. I expected that. And now I think Cincinnati's going to go Derek Harmon, and it's going to make it real tough for Pittsburgh. Oh, if they take a running back, I'm going to cry. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, I couldn't see Pittsburgh going running back. there's way too many late round guys for them. They're way smarter than that. I mean, Najee Harris, outside of Najee Harris, like I can't think, was Rashard Mendenhall first rounder or was he even a second?
Those were the two most recent.
Okay. And what was Le'Veon?
Second round.
Okay. Yeah, Walter Nolan, I really like. I mean, some of the off-field issues, those aside, he had some of the just most explosive plays on D tackle.
Correct.
And his size too. He's just a freak.
And he can play up and down the defensive line. I think in some ways he's a little bit of, like it's kind of like you said with Jalen Walker, but in terms of like he's got a little bit of every move. Like he's got a little bit of a spin move. He can play with his hands, but it's not like Derek Harmon plays with his hands. Like Derek Harmon will beat you up with his hands. Walter Nolan can play with his hands, but Walter Nolan also has a little bit more agility, a little bit more of a spin move, a little bit like Derek Harmon doesn't have that. Like he's got a little bit of everything, but like Harmon's more violent with his hands. Grant's got a little more upfield burst. Walter's got a little bit of everything, but not everything.
Yeah, I see Walter Nolan kind of like Yetur Gross-Matos, where he kind of plays D tackle and can shift out to be a big end. So
right. No, he can definitely play outside for sure. And that's one of the most valuable things that he did, which is my comparisons for him ended up being two of them, Larry Ogunjobi and Justin Matabuke. And I think Matabuke makes a lot of sense because he played that outside on the Ravens defense, especially when Mike McDonald was there of Seattle. He would put him, out there, and he really had one of his best seasons by moving him up and down and playing with that burst and playing with a combination of things. I
really thought Walter Nolan was going to go here to Cincinnati too if he'd made it past Arizona. So now, like Derek Harmon, like you were saying, Mike Green. I know they were tied to Mike Green in the offseason or in the past few weeks, I should say. But
no, that would make a lot of sense. And I mean, we've talked, or I think
James Pierce too. Sorry to interrupt you, but James Pierce was another name tied to them.
No, you're right. And I mean, all I was going to say was, you got to go defense here, considering, you're paying Joe Burrow, you're paying Jamar Chase, you're paying T. Higgins. Like, at some point,
it's paid Mike Gesicki too, I think.
I mean, enough money to, and they're paying Orlando Brown. At some point, you just have to you have to just take shots at the defense, because at some point you just have to try, because like, how else are you going to get it? You can't pay for these guys. You're not going to be able to in the future. So,
okay, if we're just going to do hot takes, Travion Henderson here is kind of interesting.
Oh, it would be insane. Yeah, it would be wild. That would be crazy. I mean, if
right now,
what would be, what would be crazy is, Andre Yoshivas is their slot. How about Matthew Golden? That would be crazy.
I like Yoshivas.
I do too. I mean, they're not going to take Matthew Golden, but I mean, he's one of my top players available.
Chase Brown and Zach Moss are the running backs. I mean, clearly they shouldn't go first round running back, but I think they may want to add somebody kind of earlier on.
Yeah.
RJ Harvey or the UCF kid,
I know that's what I'm saying about running back is like how could you take Amari and Hampton when you could take RJ Harvey a couple rounds later? And then, like I said, it comes down to, I don't even love Shedeur, but if it comes down to me and it's Shedeur Sanders and RJ Harvey or Travion Henderson and Quinn Ewers, sorry, give me Shedeur. I would just, it's just of the two, I would just, I don't, at least then you get upside, and Harvey could do a lot of the same things that Henderson could do at such a discount. And you just can't find that at quarterback, late in the draft. Typically, maybe, you strike gold or whatever. And I mean, maybe Shedeur just sucks. I keep defending him.
They said he hit it off with Tomlin, though, and that's what's interesting to me. He had really bad interviews with all these coaches, but he had a really great interview with Tomlin. I mean, he's got that going for him. Earlier in the draft process, Dion kind of hinted at there's only a few teams I'm going to let Shedeur go to, so maybe he kind of flubbed those interviews on purpose and then told Tomlin I did this on purpose. I want you to pick me if I felt I don't know, tinfoil hat, very much tinfoil hat. But.
Yeah. I just think, honestly, the teams are Shedeur, you're not, the thing that I say about him is, he thinks he's Mahomes, and it's dude, you're Tua, you're not Mahomes. If you start playing like Tua, you could be just fine, but you think you're Patrick Mahomes, and that's just not, it's not going to happen, brother. It's just not going to be, that's not who you are. You can't physically do what you think you can physically do. So, it'll be interesting to see. It really, I mean, if you reel him in, he can be a fine quarterback. That's the thing too, is I don't think he can be a great quarterback. So, which is why I get if the Steelers pass on him. I just can't. It's so hard because of the surplus value, and it's so easy to say, "Oh, let's just punt till next year." Cam Hayward's 35, and T.J. Watt on the last year deal of his contract. I mean, the clock is ticking here. You got to figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, you just put all that money in DK Metcalf. He's not the youngest either, so you kind of want to get things going now. That's all the reason why I think it's interesting that you guys signed DK and get rid of Pickens and get a little older at receiver. That would be intriguing, but
yeah, it just comes down to they had to spend the money on someone, and they weren't going to give it to Pickens because they think he's a head case.
Yeah. And really... I guess, but in the past it was like that everyone was waiting for them to pay Mike Wallace and then AB get all the money.
That's basically what happened, except they traded for DK because they haven't drafted well enough in the past few years.
Yeah.
I think Colbert had to retire. You know, they had to put that man out to pasture after this. He had to feel a few bad drafts there.
Yeah.
And, put the Steelers in this awkward position that they're in. Back to Cincinnati. Just sorry to steal that, you know. But I think it's going to be, it's typical of Cincinnati to spin it back to the Steelers. Them and the Steelers always seem to have similar players on their mind. Goes back to
that whole division's drafting similar players, have similar mentalities. It's always very competitive for sure.
Yep.
But I mean, like, it's kind of the past 10 picks or so have been they got to go D-line, they got to go defense, they got to go defensive end. And for the most part, the teams have. There's been a few shockers. I do think
it's really Harmon or Tyleik Williams. And Tyleik Williams is like a nose tackle. So it's like if you don't get Harmon here, then it's like to me it drops off on the defensive line, especially after Tyleik, in my opinion. So I think if you don't take Harmon here, then I don't know. But I just think that they have to, because the tier drops off versus there's still some edge rushers, but I think the tier drops off with Harmon here. Shamar Stewart. Oh, wow. Harmon falls.
Okay. So they still went D-line, though.
They did, yes.
People that they probably thought was going to be there either because he was tied to some of their
earlier.
That's
a home run swing if I ever saw one. Yeah, that's just – I've talked about Shamar Stewart. I compare him to guys like Trayvon Walker, Rashawn Gary, Montez Sweat, all those guys. Montez was a little more productive, but very similar body type. Trayvon and Rashawn Gary, unproductive in college. Here, Daniel Jeremiah just compared him to Rashawn Gary too. Super unproductive in college. A lot of it was scheme dependent. A lot of it is because they're super young. But, dude, just bet on the dudes who are like 6'5", 270 and are just freaks of nature. And, like, Rashawn Gary turned out okay. Trayvon Walker turned out okay. Montez Sweat turned out okay. Sometimes you just bet on these freaks because, like, when you watch the tape and it's like, oh, this dude just explodes off the freaking football. He's insane. Yeah. So, yeah.
No, yeah, the gamble there is the lack of production that he had in college, but he has the traits and physicals that just jump off the charts, and he performed well at the combine and all. Or did he go? Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah, he blew up. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say he was one of the bigger guys there. So, and this frees them up for Trey Hendrickson. What do they can do with that contract? Right. So that gives them a little flexibility there. I'm gonna step away for 1 second. I'll be right back. But Seattle's on the clock if you want to kind of chat about that. Give me 1 second.
Good. I'll take it for a minute here. And viewers, keep bringing questions. If you've got any questions, we're on to the 18th pick here, just over halfway through the first round of the 2025 NFL draft. We've killed it. We've been calling a couple picks. We've been talking about all kinds of scenarios. Ben's been in the chat. Anyone else want to comment? Shamar Stewart, like he said, it opens up to trading Trey Hendrickson. It also opens up the idea that if Joseph Asai just isn't very good, or if they don't trust him taking that step forward in the next year, then you take a guy like Shamar Stewart. I was high on Shamar Stewart, but I was high on him due to the fact that I talk about all these edge rushers, and like none of them just really set themselves apart as like, oh, this is obviously going to be the second best edge rusher, in this group. It just never set itself apart. So I just had him as the second best because when in doubt, if no one sets themselves apart, just take your swing on, like I said, the guy who compares himself to Walker or Gary or anything like that. So yeah, we're on to Seattle. I think this is going to be interior offensive line. We talked about on our pre-draft podcast. Aaron mentioned Gray Zabel, and he's back here. I mentioned Donovan Jackson as like a potential sleeper pick because, they just had a poor offensive line last year. They just traded for Sam Darnold and paid him money, or they didn't trade for Sam Darnold. They just signed Sam Darnold and paid him money. You got to protect the dude, and you got to, your offensive line was poor last year. You have some tackles, so it makes sense to take interior offensive guys. What do you think?
I like Zabel. I think this is where in my mind, this is where he goes in the draft. He fits really well. They need the interior there. And if you get Sam Darnold there for the next 5 to 10 years, you can pair him with a set. I think Zabel's center or could play guard, but do you think center or guard?
I think for Seattle, he would probably be a guard. You look at, I mean,
You do?
actually, when you look at the Seattle offensive line, here's what you got: while Maya's a 2024 sixth round pick. So he was a rookie 6th round pick last year, and then you've got Anthony Bradford, a 2023 4th round pick, and Olu from Michigan, a 2023 5th round pick. So you've got a bunch of day 3 guys entering their 3rd or 2nd season in the NFL. I mean, you could stick him really in any of those spots, but I think of the 3, I liked Olu, the Michigan center, the most. So I think you could replace either the Utah guard or Anthony Bradford, the other guard. And I mean, yeah, but you need to replace potentially all 3 of them, so it would make sense.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the ball, though, like Leonard Williams getting kind of old, I believe, like 30, so maybe not too old, but you're going to need to start doing something on the D line there.
Yeah.
Linebacker, like they have decent players at every position, but it's like, where do they want to improve at?
Cornerback, they could use some help, yeah. But I guess what I think is that, like, this is a different one where it's like, I'm like, Mike McDonald is like one of those, like, give me the pieces and I'll figure it out type of guys.
Yeah.
So it's like, he's not just drafting his type of guys, and maybe the offense could use more help. Whereas he's like, I've got some of the pieces that I need. I can figure this out. Let's get the offense some help. So I think of the 2, I just got to lean offense here if I'm the Seattle Seahawks. But I think, yeah, if they go defense, it would definitely, I mean, there's still, like I said, Harmon provides a tier break, so you could definitely take Harmon, or it would be cornerback, I think, with whether it be Will Johnson. I mean, they have, what's his name, plays the slot a lot, Devin Witherspoon. So I think it would be Will Johnson over Barron, but I think it would be offensive.
Kobe Bryant, the weak link at corner you don't like?
Yeah, he plays safety, doesn't he?
Well, they had like Kobe Bryant, Reek Woolen.
Gray Zabel.
Oh, yeah. Boyamafe. No, wait. What am I looking at here?
Gray Zabel. The Seattle took Gray Zabel.
Zabel. See, I like that pick. I like the pick. I like the fit. I think that was where he went.
We
Sorry,
knew
I looked at this here. Reek Woolen's playing corner, and then you got Pritchett. So, yeah, they do need someone on the other side.
Outside, yeah.
Yeah. Zabel's a nice move.
Yeah, Zabel makes a lot of sense. And like we just mentioned, you can stick him on either one of those interior offensive line spots, and he would fit obviously pretty good for them. So
now I'm thinking Tampa Bay has to be ecstatic Campbell fell to them. Like that's the one guy they've been wanting. They need linebacker.
Right. And this is, like I said, the test of, does he have a bad shoulder, or was he just fall into this spot? Yeah, that makes
sense.
Yeah,
it's like glove meet hand here as far as first round goes.
Yeah. And then I think, if they don't go with Jihad Campbell here, I would assume it would be Ezeraku, James Pierce, Mike Green, if I had to guess. One of those.
Really?
Yeah. Keep the edge rush going.
See. Tampa.
They just signed, but he's coming off that bad year. And
Elijah Cansey had a great first year, though.
Yeah, but he's an interior guy, so
Vita Vea, interior guy. So outside definitely would be good.
Yeah, like Reddick and Yaya, and I think Reddick is similar to Ezeraku because they can play on their feet together. So I think Ezeraku or Jihad Campbell would be my pick at 19.
What if they went Eamon Worry here?
Yeah, I could see that. Or I was just thinking Barron, but I mean they just drafted Tyke Smith, and I really liked his rookie season. But Eamon Worry, what's his name, would make more sense to me than Barron, I guess. So that would, I could definitely see the safety making more sense than Barron.
Eamon Worry's kind of interesting here. I think I don't know. I don't see how they don't draft Jihad Campbell though. So then that kind of then puts us on to Denver and answering Ben's question, Bucks and Broncos picks. Amari and Hampton, like the guy they've been talking about. I know they were tied to Kenneth. Who were they? They were trying to move up for someone else. It was the tight end position. Yeah, so Mason Taylor's the only one left there, and I don't see him really fitting that Sean Payton offense.
I think who do they prefer between Travion or Amari and Hampton would be the Denver question.
And of course, they could always go defense with all the studs that are there, but DJ Jones.
At least puts me in the most interesting spot of now you can see the Steelers debate Derek Harmon or Shedeur.
That's very interesting. I want to see that happen.
It would have been stupid if it's like, oh, well, one of them's gone, so it doesn't matter anyways. Now at least you get to see. Yeah. I mean, I keep going back to if they take a running back, that'd be so stupid, but whatever.
And they took huge swings this offseason, taking Dre Greenlaw and Talanoa Hufanga from the 49ers, 2 injured players, but they could be.
Defense is legit. I don't think that.
what was their nickname last year? It was the
Orange Crush or what?
Anonymous Orange, I think
Oh,
it was.
yeah,
No
there
one
you
really knew anybody on their team.
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, their defense is fine on paper, so
Yeah.
they need an offensive skill player in some regard. And
Riley Moss was like between his first year and second year, that was a really impressive turnaround
Yeah,
for him.
big deal.
How he played
Yeah.
for them last year.
yeah, and I mean, they got Jaleel McLaughlin, Audric Estime, Tyler Batty are their running backs. Denver. You think they're going to draft a running back at some point? I don't know. Yeah,
They got to at some point, I think.
Yeah, like they don't have a running back. So, and we know that Sean Payton loves the running back position. He loves to throw the ball to the running back position. So that would be my guess, and I would have a hard time guessing anyone else. I guess it would be Matthew Golden would be my second pick behind what I mean. It would be one of those two running backs because I wouldn't be shocked if Travion Henderson went ahead of Marion Hampton. That's been my call for a minute, and I'm sticking with it.
It definitely seems like it's going to be an offensive weapon because that defense, just looking at it,
they plug the holes
as a stud. So
yeah, or at least like a
and the
starter.
line too, like Mike McGlinchey has some question with Quinn Miners,
Right.
Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Wattenberg. Like
They're fine. Yeah. I mean, maybe they could use a center, but you're not taking Gray Zabel just went to like that's
right. No, that would have been the thing. It could have been Zabel
Yeah.
if he was there, but he's gone now. So you're not going to take who's the next center? I can't even think.
It would be like Jared Wilson from Georgia, who, yeah, I mean, what's that like? I don't know. He's not going tonight, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the question is,
Wilson and then Jake Majors from Texas.
that's higher than I have, but yeah, I would make it. Yeah, I have like Seth McLaughlin from Ohio State, and then even I think Marcus Bowe from Purdue could potentially play center. But like I said, I'm a sucker for guys who can move.
There's that big kid from USC too, but yeah.
Yeah, and I have him lower too. Jonah.
Okay, so Denver pick is in.
Yeah, we think Bucks are going to go pass rusher or Jakota Campbell, and we think that Denver is going to go playmaker, particularly running back. And then we think the Steelers are going to debate between Shador or Derek Harmon. I'd have to lean Derek Harmon. I just don't think there's a Shador team other than Pittsburgh. And like, I don't know, maybe like when's he gonna like? How far is this dude gonna fall till?
There's Gilly with his big ass hat at Shadur's house.
Yeah, it's so weird. Which is him too. Yeah, the rejected will be respected is what Deion Sanders said.
He's probably part of the reason Shador's falling. They don't want to deal with that shit.
Ben says at this point, a trade back doesn't make sense for the Steelers. I guess it depends how you look at it. If you get like wowed away, it doesn't make sense if you want Derek Harmon because I talked about, I think the tier break, it starts around him and they're going to miss out on it if they trade back. It does make sense in terms of, like we keep talking about, a quarterback's not going to go, between now and 32. And they just lost their second round pick to DK Metcalf. So it would be nice to pick one of those up.
So the Chargers after Pittsburgh just kind of trying to get a little bit ahead. I had thought this whole time Kenneth Grant was going to be the perfect fit for them. Harbaugh, Michigan, all that stuff. May have been frozen. I think Parker may be frozen right now, but let me just fix this.
Okay. Our internet.
There you are. Okay. I was like, I don't know if he's frozen or if he's just playing a prank. No,
I lost internet and then I got it.
You're back though.
Yeah, but I do not have.
I just asked you because that threw me for a loop. Oh, the Chargers. I was saying I thought Kenneth Grant was going to be the perfect fit for the Chargers, trying to get ahead of it. But the pick's in now for the Bucks, and it's Emeka Egbuka.
For the Bucks?
Yeah.
What are they doing? They just think that McMillan dude they drafted last year sucks. Why wouldn't they have just let Chris Godwin?
They just re-signed Godwin. They got Mike Evans, and they decided to go Emeka
Egbuka in the third round last year. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I liked Egbuka. Like I said, I compared him to Robert Woods. I thought he was a really solid receiver, but
that answers your question too about Jahad Campbell's shoulder. There's definitely some concerns there.
I would assume so. Yeah, if he's going to fall like that. Then Matthew Golden, kind of an interesting not going higher.
That's true. That's a good point. Matthew Golden, I think even Luther Burden, that would like. I know you're a little bit higher on Egbuka.
I was going to say I had him higher, but still. Very interesting stuff going on.
Did you comp Egbuka Olave?
Robert Woods.
Robert Woods, that's right.
Yeah, as like just a dirty worker, could do everything, could play outside and in the slot, could work with the ball in his hands. All that stuff
sounds really good with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the outside too.
Yeah, really. I mean, it sounds a little bit Chris Godwin-esque, but it also sounds like, I mean, they tried to get Jalen McMillan, the Washington guy who played a very similar role, and he didn't do very well, and apparently they're just simply out on the Washington guy, which, I mean, someone told me, or no, it's not someone. I forget what I heard, that, Roma Dunze had a disappointing year. This Jalen McMillan had a disappointing year. Jalen Polk had a disappointing year. Those were the 3 Washington receivers. Maybe Michael Penix is just really good or something.
Maybe. I mean, I'm a big fan of Michael Penix. I was thoroughly impressed when he played the Longhorns in that playoff game. He threw some of the most accurate passes that I've seen a college quarterback throw. Like,
yeah,
it was impressive.
I mean, he turned all those dudes into, we thought they were going to all be, competent NFL players. And so far, Dunze seems like he'll be okay. But, I mean, this pick signals that Jalen McMillan will not be on the field, like ever. So,
yeah.
I don't think that's not good. This was Jalen McMillan is just watching this. Like, I mean, how many people had worse nights than him? Not many.
So Denver's on the clock now.
Right. I mean, so
now, there for them.
It opens the door, like you said, for Matthew Golden, Travion, and Omarion Hampton. I think it would be hard to see them taking anyone else. But we just said that we thought that the Bucs would take a pass rusher. And really, I mean, when you look at it, though, okay, now that Shamar Stewart's gone, you got Mike Green, who could be a designated pass rusher because he can't hold up against the run. Donovan could be a designated pass rusher, can't hold up against the run. James Pierce, designated pass rusher, can't hold up against the run. Like, now there are reasons why these guys are falling. Maybe we talked about Jahad Campbell. There's a reason he's fallen. We talked about Harmon. If he doesn't go 21, then there's obviously medical issues with Derek Harmon. Will Johnson, we talked about why he's fallen. Then, I mean, it's Matthew Golden. It's like the only guy left other than those 2 running backs that we don't have them rated high, but they seem to be expected to go high.
Yeah.
We have them rated high, but not in terms of like this high.
And it's starting to get that time like Shador watch.
Oh, it is. Yeah. I mean, if the Steelers flagged Derek Harmon and that's why the Bengals took Shamar Stewart over Harmon is because they flagged him medically. I mean, then who the hell do the Steelers take if they flag Derek Harmon? I don't know.
Yeah.
Sanders. Yeah. So if they didn't flag Derek Harmon, then you assume they take Derek Harmon.
I'm going to be curious your opinions if they do of the future of the Steelers organization if they go that route. But if they go with Shador, but I think there's still a very, very good chance that they have their guy in Derek Harmon and may think, let's try and get Rodgers to sign, or maybe, I don't know if they would trade in division for Kirk Cousins, but it's like you got to find some kind of option outside of Mason Rudolph. I guess there's Will Howard, Riley Leonard, those type of guys still in the draft.
3rd round pick. Yeah, I wouldn't count that out at all. Yeah. Especially now that one hasn't gone and we're all the way to 21, and it doesn't seem like, I guess the Giants could trade back up, like we talked about, use Thibodeau to trade back up and get Jackson Dart. But if only one quarterback goes in the 1st round, it's going to be more likely that, somebody falls to the Steelers in the 3rd round. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like I said with the D linemen, they were going to go higher because of once Mason Graham goes higher, they go higher. But once Shador goes lower, or once Dart goes lower, all these other guys are going to start to go lower. So it could be the 3rd round when, Jalen Milroe attended the draft. Well, maybe the 3rd round when, Jalen Milroe goes off the board, maybe. So it's like I keep saying, when you connect the dots of who's the Shador team, like maybe it's just like the Steelers just get to pick what round they draft him in. That obviously isn't like how it necessarily works, but like in some regards, if all these teams are out on him and there's 7 teams that are going to draft a quarterback and 4 of them are out on him, then it's like 3 teams just playing the waiting game of, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? I mean, it gets interesting of like how far does Shador fall? Maybe to the 3rd round or further.
How would you feel if Pittsburgh went Milroe over Shador right here and just shocked everybody?
I wouldn't care. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I just think, take someone. Why not? Like, you don't have somebody. What's the point?
So you don't care who the prospect is if they go quarterback at 21.
I love Jackson Dart, but if they like Jackson Dart, who am I to say? I've talked about it. I thought Bo Nix was a reach, but hey, he took him to the playoffs in his rookie season. I've liked,
he's pretty well. I mean, it definitely was a good fit, good coach too, all that stuff.
Right.
So,
but yeah, I've not liked quarterbacks who have gone on to be good quarterbacks. So it's not like I'm like sitting here like I don't like him, and so there's no chance to take him. It's like no.
There is an argument to be made though that the current staff in Pittsburgh isn't doing a good job of developing the quarterbacks they do draft because yeah.
I just also think, I mean, they also aren't taking good quarterbacks.
Yeah,
So,
Mason Rudolph, Kenny Pickett, Josh Dobbs.
The same thing again with Shador. Maybe Shador isn't good and they take him, or maybe Moreau isn't good and they take him. But I guess in my opinion, like I said, do you want to play the game or not? Do you want to try or not? And I just don't. I don't think with Rodgers, like I just don't know what you're getting. Versus like at least now you're in like you're rolling the dice and like maybe who knows what'll come up. Probably won't be good, but I mean. Do you want to roll the dice or do you just want to stand with your hands on your pants?
Yeah. Rappaport just reported something about someone trying to move up.
The Steelers, I mean, like I said to Ben, I wouldn't be surprised if they traded down, especially if they flagged Harmon. They need an extra second-round pick or they need extra picks at some point. It would help them get a quarterback in this draft if they don't want to take one here.
So what Rappaport was saying was Seahawks and Bucks both had people trying to trade up to that spot and turned down and stuck and pick their guys.
I mean, Pittsburgh should. Why wouldn't Pittsburgh trade down?
No, they're saying people were trying to trade up for those spots for
Seattle. And I'm saying if the guy that they're trying to trade up for is still there, maybe it's Josh Simmons, a tackle from Ohio State, because he's such a rare commodity.
Derek Harmon. Maybe they were trying to get ahead of Pittsburgh for Derek Harmon.
Maybe, yeah. Or, there's obviously that. Or maybe, maybe the Steelers take Dart here and it was the Giants trying to get up ahead to get Jackson Dart because we all know they're hot on him. I don't know.
That's interesting. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, I have no idea. So we'll see.
I like that take, though. Maybe they are addressing Jackson Dart and the Giants are so in on him that they were trying to work every angle.
But, yeah, I mean, we'll go through. I mean, or no, they're here. They're going to take a number 20. Janae Barron. Huh.
Interesting. Him and Surtain, I guess.
Well, then they have Riley Moss, so they're going to stick him in the slot.
Riley Moss can play 24/7 slot now.
They have Jaquan. I mean, this is their slot cornerback. This guy is a slot. He's 100% slot.
Yeah.
Jaquan McMillan was their slot, though, and I thought Jaquan McMillan was pretty good. But, I mean, here's the thing, though. They could also stick him at free safety and replace Brandon Jones, another Texas guy. And Brandon Jones gets replaced, and then you got Brandon Jones, you got Jade playing deep, you got Hufanga playing down in the box. I mean, geez, what a great combination that could be.
This just goes to prove how much the running backs are devalued.
In my opinion, yes. I mean, here's the thing. I just don't see Hampton, he's a good running back. I just don't see him being all that. I really don't.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've said it 3 times already, but at least Travion Henderson brings, a different element to your offense. So, I mean, if the Steelers took a running back here, I think they would be stupid. But we'll see.
Well, Steelers are on the clock.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Harmon or Shador. Or, hey, if you want to take Milroe or Dart, whatever.
Who do you want the most right now in this moment?
Probably Harmon because I know it's hard because you're assuming now that the quarterbacks are going to fall. And, I mean, here's what I was going to do was all right, the Bills have Josh Allen. New England has Drake May. Miami has Tua. The Jets have 2 quarterbacks, okay? Cleveland, we're connecting Cleveland to Tyler Shuck and Jackson Dart more than we're connecting him to Shador, right? Okay, so that's one of the 2. Pittsburgh. Baltimore has Lamar. Houston has Stroud. Indianapolis is obviously giving Richardson a year. Tennessee has Ward. Jacksonville has Trevor. Denver has Nix. LA has Herbert. Kansas City has Mahomes. Vegas just traded for Geno. Would they really, are they connected to Shador still? Maybe at the right price. Would Vegas take him in the second round? Maybe Vegas takes him.
Shador.
Okay, so maybe Vegas takes him in the second round. Philly has Hurts. Dallas has Dak. Jaden Daniels. The New York Giants have clearly been off on him. They're one of the 2 Shuck or Dart teams. So them in Cleveland, we'll take them off to the side. Chicago, Caleb. Minnesota, JJ. Green Bay, Love. Detroit. I mean, like we said, they're probably more Milroe because they want to swing for the fences. New Orleans, we already talked about, is off of him. Atlanta, Penix, Baker, Bryce Young, Stafford, Kyler, Purdy, Darnold. Who's the Shador team? When does Shador go? Maybe it's the second round with Las Vegas Raiders. But, I mean, I guess that makes me more inclined to not take Shador is thinking maybe he falls in the third round. I said it like 3 times and I don't believe it, but maybe he does. I don't know.
Or if Pittsburgh doesn't take him here, maybe the Giants are more inclined to go him over Dart if he falls to them in the second round.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's definitely true.
The Jets, I wouldn't put it past the Jets if he fell.
I mean, Fields is Field. Like, they gave him weird money, but I mean, come on now. This is like his 6th year and he's done nothing. So,
and they got an early second round pick where they could be like, let's get a guy.
Right. So yeah, I think it's like the Jets, Cleveland, and New Orleans and the Giants. But a lot of them have been rumored to be, whether it be Shuck or Dart, more into him than Shedeur, it appears, in Jalen Milroe. So I mean, I don't know when Shedeur is going to go, so maybe they do take Derek Harmon. Or like I said, if Derek Harmon falls here, then he's probably been flagged because I think Cincy would have taken him, but we'll see.
Cowboys would be an interesting one too.
Yeah, at what point? But I mean, they're paying Dak Prescott so much money. It's like, you'd have to get out of that somehow. And how do you do that? You need.
But they probably have some kind of thought where, like, if we get Shedeur in the second round, we could get Dion. I don't know, something.
Yeah, I
love Dion in Dallas.
It is for Dion, yeah.
Here it is.
Harmon, yeah, it makes sense.
Oh, cut to the Sanders house. Crazy.
Oh, yeah.
They got their guy. I mean, another one that was tied to y'all, but.
The thing with Harmon is that he can play the 5 technique, which is, and the Steelers still at times play a traditional 3-4 defense, so he can play that role for them.
It's a good pick. I mean, outside the whole Shedeur Sanders fiasco, I like the Harmon fit.
Yeah, like I said, I guess he fell at some point due to there were some questions about his shoulder or whatever, and he also misses a lot of tackles. But he also, what comes with missing a lot of tackles is the fact that you have way more opportunities to make tackles than everyone else. Like you are like he's making a lot of plays. Talked about like he's super physically violent with his hands. I think he's one of the best at using his hands in the entire draft, is what made him really good. I compared him to Muhammad Wilkerson, another first-round pick who went about like 20th overall, very similarly drafted to the Jets, and could play up and down the defensive line. I think at times they even put him at edge rusher because he could play that far off. But I mean, mainly more like the 7 technique than the edge rusher. So, and like I said, I think 3-4 defensive end for the Steelers makes a lot of sense. And he's obviously, aside from the injury question, I think he's a pretty safe pick.
Good move. Now the Chargers are on, and I think they were hoping Harmon fell to them. So,
right.
I'm really curious. This is a tough one.
Golden. I think now they're Matthew Golden.
Matthew Golden. That's a good one. They got Mike Williams back. So.
Yeah, they did, but they still need receivers. So Ben said, would you say that the Steelers got lucky he fell there given there is no serious injury concerns? I guess, I don't know. It depends how you want to say lucky, because I think it just depends how they shook out between, Kenneth Grant, Walter Nolan, and Harmon. They kind of just went in the order that they went into. And I think the only thing they potentially, like, quote unquote, went lucky with was Cincinnati taking Shamar Stewart over him, and whether that was due to the injuries or due to the fact that I think Shamar Stewart has, a ceiling much higher than Derek Harmon. So it makes sense in that regard. So, I mean, besides that, not where he thought he was going to go.
I would argue the Kenneth Grant domino kind of started it all too, because he went a little bit earlier than Walter Nolan and some of the people, so kind of then pushed them back. But then Walter Nolan falling back kind of pushed everything back. So I don't know if they're even – I mean, there's sure some medical concerns, but I don't know if I would call it a flag even, and they got their guy.
Right. Yeah, and like I said, I think if in a different world where Miami takes Derek Harmon 13th, do the Steelers just take Kenneth Grant 21st probably, so it's like one of those –
yeah.
One of those situations that it's just how the board broke, that certain way. Because like I said, I mean, now the tier falls off because now you've got Tyleik Williams is a nose tackle. He really doesn't play very much of anywhere else. Where, like I said, Derek Harmon was, he can play 3 technique, 5 technique, all the way to the 7 technique. Whereas now Tyleik, and then after Tyleik, it gets into like Alfred Collins, TJ Sanders, Shamar Turner, like guys that, in my opinion, are like, if any of those guys fell to round 3, I wouldn't be shocked, let alone round 2. So that's like, in my opinion, the tier fell off there. So,
what do you think about Jahad Campbell here?
Let me pull up the Chargers depth chart. They have Deion Henley, who they really like, but Denzel Perryman is getting older. So, I mean, I could definitely see it. I could see Harbaugh. I think he seems to like those power schools and guys that play in like the playoff games in like big games, which is, I guess, would hint him towards like a guy like Matthew Golden as well. Obviously, Ja'Kai Campbell. Obviously, he knows Will Johnson, the quarterback, very well. I guess those would probably be the three for me. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have been building the offensive line the past few drafts, so they could not do that this round.
Yeah.
I mean, Khalil Mack's getting kind of old, so I mean,
I think Mike Williams was, awful last year. He's coming off an ACL. He's like pretty old, and Quentin Johnson looks like he's a super big bust. So I mean, you've got Ladd McConkey, and then you've got like let's get Matthew Golden in there and let's stretch the field so that Ladd McConkey has space underneath to work. I think they would be like dumb not to take Golden here almost.
Yeah.
Especially with Ibuka gone.
He fell. Yeah, he fell. They probably didn't know he was going to be there.
Right.
Eamon Worry, I mean, that would be tough to pair him with Terwin James. So
yeah, right. And I don't mind Alohi Gilman. They need a cornerback. They could draft Will Johnson if they needed a cornerback here. And I mean, obviously, nobody knows Will Johnson. I mean, I guess some people know him better than Jim Harbaugh, but Jim would obviously know Will Johnson if he drafted him. And I mean, I think, Matthew Golden from Texas, Will Johnson from Michigan, Alabama linebacker. When I think of Jim Harbaugh, I think of those power schools that have played in big playoff games. So.
You always got to wonder about what Michigan players are out there when Harbaugh is drafting. Like Will Johnson, and they do have a need at corner. Like,
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. It would be a fit.
Does make sense.
I mean, when Harbaugh left for the Chargers, that's when Will Johnson was like supposed to be a top 10 pick or whatever. But he obviously had a bad year last year. But Harbaugh wasn't following college football as much last year. We'll see. I just think the offensive fit of Golden with Justin Herbert, I would have a hard time. And I think the spacing that Golden provides Ladd McConkey, I would have a hard time dealing with passing up the spacing of Golden going deep and McConkey going underneath, and then Herbert really having guys.
The only other thing I could think of is James Pierce adding just some depth to the D line. Harbaugh loves getting after the quarterback. I mean,
just lost Bosa. But they do like the Tuli Tuiapoloto or whatever, and they have Mac. But yeah, it's possible. Especially
even then, they got Matlock and Deshaun Hand though at their DN position, so it's like
yeah. But either way, yeah, they're looking for. But yeah, I think those pass rushers are going to fall a little bit because they are like more designated pass rushers, and I don't see a Harbaugh guy taking a guy who doesn't do the run very well. That's why Ja'Kai Campbell would probably be a good fit.
So I've been thinking Milroe to the Rams this whole I'm curious though if Shedeur could go there.
I keep wondering if the Rams are waiting until round 2 because, do you try and, you got Stafford for, how many more years? Yes, you're thinking about replacing Stafford, but aren't you thinking about one more dance with Stafford sort of thing? Let's get someone who could really help Stafford. But I mean, I could obviously see him being a fit there. So, I think we talked about, I think the Rams and the Lions are the two sleeper teams that, aside from, New Orleans, obviously, Giants, obviously, Cleveland, obviously, Pittsburgh has Aaron Rodgers in the background. But after those,
Cleveland, I'm keeping my eye on. They got 2 of those for early second-round picks. They could swap those and move into the late first and snag somebody.
I mean, there's Shedeur, Jalen, Shuck, and Dart, and then there's the Giants, Saints, Steelers, and Cleveland. In my opinion,
and the Giants have been
the Rams and the Lions are the sleepers that could make it not a perfect 4-for-4 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I could see even Green Bay being a destination that trades back and moving up for one of those guys. No, Green Bay, say Cleveland wants to move
trading back. Oh, yeah, right.
And they were I was thinking of Mecca Ibuka there even at times too. So
yeah, right. Or Matthew Golden. Matthew Golden goes here.
Yeah. I keep
think
forgetting
Green
he's on the board. It's just like, man,
Yeah.
Bosley's still out there.
Surprising, yeah. But I think Green Bay is actually one of those teams that, like I said, those designated pass rushers are falling. I think they're one of those teams that says, hey, we need pass rushing anyway. Like, we don't care. You know, we have
Yeah.
run defenders. We need a pass rusher. So I could see them not caring about that as much as, like, Harbaugh, I couldn't see him taking a designated pass rusher. Green Bay, I could.
And then Minnesota after that, I mean, they're another one of those teams where they have some decent players at every position. They could go a few different ways. Who did I have them? I think I had Nick Eamon going there, but after we talked, it was like, hey, yeah, they could. I think you were saying Jahdae Barron, but Will Johnson at this point, he's still there.
Yeah.
So
I think it's Johnson or Golden, yeah. Or Campbell, because they wouldn't have expected Campbell to be here, yeah.
Yeah, at this point, anyone could take Campbell because they didn't expect him to be there, and it's just like
Right.
linebacker. You could always add a good linebacker.
Yeah.
Watch him fall to Baltimore. Like that's a very Baltimore pick. They don't need linebacker, but that's very thing for them to do is like just take him because he's there.
Guys too, yeah.
I think James Pierce is if he doesn't go to Green Bay, he's got to go Baltimore. Like so, Green Bay. I don't know. Green Bay is a tough one. Minnesota, I think, is going to go secondary. Houston, I've been tying Josh Simmons to them. Rams would be really cool to see them go quarterback, but they probably won't. If Will Johnson's still there, you know they're going to snag up Will Johnson. Baltimore, Devin Ezeraku kind of fits there. Like that would be kind of cool.
They're another
James
team that
Pierce.
can do anything for pass rush, yeah.
Yeah. Detroit, I could see them go in Tyreek Williams, but I saw something that was really intriguing seeing them go Tui Moalalau from Ohio State in the first round.
It's possible. All right, here we go. Chargers. Amari and Hampton, no
Wow.
way.
Wow.
Jim, what are you doing, Jim? What are you doing, brother? Listen,
What is that?
they just signed Najee, and I told people, I said, if you look at Najee Harris's contract, he did not make any money whatsoever. So I knew they were like live to draft a running back. I did not think they were live to draft one this high. Najee Harris is sorry to anybody in Dynasty football who has Najee Harris because that is worth absolutely nothing these days.
That is a shocking pick. I mean, I know Harbaugh loves to run the football, but for such a deep running draft, for him to go first round like that.
People liked Hampton, and I mean, he's more of like I would have thought maybe if Sean Payton would have taken Travion because he's that dynamic, whereas this is a guy that, like I said, you know, he's a guy that if you need someone to get you four, like this guy will put his head in between the tackles. He will shrug stuff off. Travion will kick stuff outside and will break dynamic stuff. This guy will push you and will be powerful.
Like J.K. Dobbins.
A little bit, yeah. I mean, I compared him to, I think it's a high-end upside comparison, but combine-wise, if you compare their combines, they're the exact same, him and Joe Mixon. So, I mean, Joe Mixon, you know, it's a good running back behind, you know, this offensive line. They're obviously going to be run first. I just think, yeah, I mean, it's obviously, I guess it was stupid of me to think that a Jim Harbaugh team would go for spreading the field versus, you know, packing it in and running the football.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense there.
Makes a lot of sense, but still a reach at that point.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I just keep going back to, I like Hampton a lot. I just didn't like love him enough to really get like too far behind how excited I was about Amarian Hampton. Just didn't think it was like as dynamic as he was. But I mean, yeah, like I said, I don't think the Chargers are a team that is looking for a dynamic player. They're looking for a eat your vegetables type player, and Hampton will definitely he won't be a bust, so that will be.
Matthew Golden here seems interesting. I could see him in the Packers jersey.
Yeah, I think now we're into whether it be Golden or Mike Green or James Pierce or Devin Ezeraku.
Matthew Golden, if he's still there for Houston, will be interesting.
Yeah.
I know they need offensive tackle, but him and CJ Stroud, that would be cool. Tank Dell. He played with Tank Dell at Houston.
Matthew Golden, yeah, right.
Yeah, they were both UH guys.
Yeah. Here, I'm going to jump off. I'll be right back in a second.
Cool. So, yeah, with the Packers up, I mean, I definitely could see them going wide receiver. I don't know if they should. have probably 3 or 4 different guys that they should give another chance to. I mean, you got Christian Watson up there, 2 different hamstrings, can't figure out getting that healthy. Jaden Reed was awesome last year to start the season. Then he kind of fizzled out. Romeo Doubs was supposed to be really good, had some issues with the quarterback. Then he kind of fell off the face of earth. So it's like, do they just add another wide receiver and just try to start that all over? Or do they go defense? James Pierce still being out there is crazy. I think James Pierce should go here. Probably the better pick here. Mike Green still being out there. They definitely could go edge rusher, but I don't know. Green Bay's always tough, especially since LaFleur's been there. Like, they've needed to get some weapons and stuff. They never really did it. They always draft the later guys. Like Christian Watson, I said, was the one guy they reached for, but he kind of never was the person who they thought they were drafting. So I was just saying, like, Parker, Jaden Reed was good last year, fizzled out towards the end of the year. Romeo Doubs fought with Jay Love, so he's kind of like on the outs there. So wide receiver makes sense. I think James Pierce is the pick, but what do you think?
Right. I think it's got to be pass rusher, receiver. And yeah, I mean, I think you just said it, Jaden Reed is an underneath guy. Christian Watson is their speed threat. If Matthew Golden takes over as the speed threat, because you just can't rely on Christian Watson anymore. So that would make plenty of sense. But he's never available. Why would you want anyone like that? And but I think you have to potentially, because they're so needy for that edge rush, I think they should go edge rusher here, whether it be any of those guys, because, Kingsley Enagbare is, their starter on paper. Lucas Van Ness, they drafted in the first round in 2023, and he's been a nothing burger so far. So, whether it be, pick your poison of, okay, whether it be James Pierce, Mike Green, Ezraku. We know Rashawn Gary can defend the run. We know Kenny Clark can defend the run. We know Devontae Wyatt can defend the run. Like, get somebody who has like speed and can run off the edge. So I think, they got to pick their poison here, because these are like
James Pierce.
Yeah, of the 3. Okay. I really could break it down. I think, let me look at my list. How did I break them down? I had Mike Green ahead, but I mean, it really could be, it's like pick your poison of the 3, in my opinion.
Yeah. Mike Green's been said as the best pure pass rusher in the entire draft, and he's fallen this far. Yeah. So, like,
well, he's got 2 things against him. He's got short arms, and he's got a sexual assault case coming back from he went to Virginia. Yeah, Virginia dismissed him from college, and that's why he went to Marshall, because he couldn't stay at Virginia. So he's obviously
he has 2 charges at 2 different schools too. So that's the big thing going for him, because there was something out there was like, well, if it was 1, then you could explain 1, but how do you explain 2? So that's tough.
And that's why
James Pierce, he's kind of like the Shamar Stewart type, big body, just freak athlete, but has some question marks when it comes to productivity and physicality with him.
Yeah, I would say, James Pierce is, he's just he's going to be a pass rusher, but I think he's at defending the run, and I think that is why he's still here.
Yeah.
But like I said, I don't think Green Bay, I don't think that's as big of a deal for them.
Every team that milks the clock like this makes me think.
My internet being shaky?
Yeah, a little bit. Got a slight lag to you.
All right.
But every team that milks the clock out like this and takes it all their minutes, I feel like they're just trying to work the clocks, trying to move back. So even Green Bay maybe – I mean, who would move up at this point, though, and for who? So it's like there's nothing to work.
It would have to be for a quarterback, and, I mean, we've already seen that. I don't think teams love these quarterbacks.
Yeah. That ain't happening. And Giants are probably – pretty confident that Jackson Dart's going to come to them at 34 or 35, or 33 or 34. So,
all right, they're about to pick.
All those fans waiting for this pick, and they waited to the last. That's probably why they wait to the end. Everybody there milking it out, getting their drinks, paying their money.
Yeah, they're going nuts.
Yeah, definitely going nuts. They just showed just 2 people standing. I don't know if they're just 2 people standing there not doing anything. Oh, Parker, you got a rough one right now. You got frozen on a tough screen grab, but
all right, I just jumped. I'm back on.
You got frozen on a tough screen grab. I wanted you to see it.
Oh, great. Yeah. Well, either way, the internet should be not an issue again. So
okay, cool, man. Yeah, no, it's all good.
I don't know because now we're coming up on 3 hours. I don't know if I'll rewatch this one. I usually re-listen to most of the stuff I do, but
yeah, no, this one's good. We're good. I mean, late into the draft, we're getting here towards the end.
There's been at least one person in this, or one or two people in viewing us. So
yeah, hey, that's always good. I mean, always doing it for the love of the game at the same time, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to do this anyways. Was just hang out and watch the draft. So
hell yeah. Always a good time, but yeah, I had to save that screen. That was too good. Here it is. Who's that? Rodriguez's brother?
Somebody from Green Bay, I guess. Rodriguez's brother.
He kind of looked. I don't want to crack jokes because I don't know who he is, and you.
Yeah, right. They already had. Oh, it's Mark Murphy, the president. Kill him.
He looks like a Norm Macdonald standing there, doesn't he? Kind of.
Yeah. Like an Irish.
Yeah, like Goodell and Norm Macdonald's son. He sounds like Norm Macdonald a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
This is just Norm Macdonald.
All right, just announce the pick.
Yeah, I mean, they really draw this one out whenever it's the host city. But
yeah.
I don't know how many times we can sit here and say we think it's defensive end, defensive line, or wide receiver in Minnesota. Yeah. This is a tough stretch.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they fit. Let's just make the pick already. We're ready.
No, man.
Yeah, he's flowing good. It's just this guy's dragging it out. I thought he would have made the pick already.
Killing me, man. Killing me.
He's the president or whatever, and Green Bay doesn't have an owner, so he's like the closest thing to being an owner. So he's got to come out and do his spiel of.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Art Rooney's going to do this next year. So I don't know what this guy's doing.
He's drawing this out.
Oh, it's a receiver.
Matthew.
It's gotta be Matthew Golden. Yeah, come on. There it is. It's Matthew Golden.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Norm Macdonald.
Okay. I mean, I
could see the jersey. I was just picturing a green jersey. Like, I could see him in the jersey.
The question that I guess I have for you is that does this say more about they were surprised or they were intrigued by Matthew Golden falling this far? Or does it say that these edge rushers, whether it be James Pierce isn't interested in the run, we just had Mike Green with his arms and his sexual assault, Ezeraku is, he doesn't have the burst, in my opinion. Is it because those guys, are those guys not the intriguing, or is it that Matthew Golden was just way too intriguing and they didn't think he'd be here?
I would argue that the receiver need was probably more because we got done saying like Christian Watson can't stay on the field. You did the Jaden Reed experiment. It was awesome to start the season, but he couldn't keep it all season. You had the conflicts with Romeo Doubs and all that stuff, just to reiterate it all. So it's like you really needed to add a receiver. Now you can get rid of Christian Watson. You can try and or get rid of Romeo Doubs and move Christian Watson to a different role. I mean, you have Van Ness, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, Quay Walker. Like, you had some good guys to play that front seven. So, I mean, I think it was more so a combination of wide receivers, the biggest need, and Matthew Golden's there, so we don't need to take the DN. Because, hey, it could have been Ibuka, and they had James Pierce higher, so they're like, okay, or Mike Green higher, so then they go that. But
it would have been interesting if Ibuka was the one there, because I think Golden is the more one-to-one replacement for Christian Watson due to the speed factor, whereas Ibuka is almost like not like Jaden Reed, but in terms of the role in the offense, he would probably play. I guess he would replace Romeo Doubs, if they drafted Ibuka, but it makes sense. And I think, you shift into Jaden Reed had a pretty good season last year, and now you've got Golden, and those are probably your top two. And like you said, now you can move on from Watson. Doubs becomes, whether he becomes your 3 or 4, Wicks your 3 or 4, and then you can really center it around Golden and Reed, and then kind of just like go from there. So And it makes sense because, yeah, like I said, Reed is the guy that you get the ball near the line of scrimmage. And I think Golden, you'll probably press more down the field, I would assume, considering what he showed speed-wise and things like that. So it makes sense.
Good pick.
Right, yeah, it makes sense, especially considering we thought he was going to go a little bit earlier. So
I thought a lot earlier. I thought 10, 11 picks earlier. So, I mean, for me, I think it's a good move. And he was my number one wide receiver in the draft. I thought Tet had some limitations when it came to the entire route tree where Matthew Golden could help you in many different ways. And he also is just like a security blanket. He cleans up when the quarterback isn't really throwing the best passes and stuff. So, and Jordan Love didn't have the hottest season last year either. So, like, I think it's good to add a weapon to him. So, yeah.
I think the biggest thing that would go against Matthew Golden is that he wasn't highly productive at Houston, and then he transferred to Texas, and it really took until the playoffs for him to like really have his like best performances or whatever. And like it wasn't like I remember like the offense was almost like going around Gunnar Helm more than it was going around Golden through parts of the offense. Mm-hmm. But I think we talked about some of that. You could put that on Quinn Ewers, and you could put that on just like the style of offense that they ran. And then when they really needed to go to Golden in the playoffs, he had his best game. So you could argue both.
Yeah, it was almost like early in the games, Quinn would use Ryan Wingo a whole lot, and then later in the games, he was using Matthew Golden like almost as like a forgotten weapon.
Yeah.
And then Gunnar Helm, like it was either Gunnar Helm or Golden. If you needed a big third down, big first down, like it was Gunnar Helm, Matthew Golden every time. There's nobody else. So
yeah, Golden did make a lot of big catches, and he has, for his size, he has a really good catch radius. And we talked about it on the other podcast that I thought sudden was the word that made a lot of sense for Golden because he just moves very suddenly, especially like with his releases, with his breaks, when he goes, for in routes, things like that. And that's where he can create separation. This one just kind of came to me, but I think like a faster Jordan Addison is like a pretty decent comparison, especially how they were in that offense.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. I definitely like the for me, I had him between like Jalen Waddle, Terry McLaurin, and
that makes more sense role wise, or speed wise,
all of those though, like Jordan Love hasn't had anything like that, so I think
he was supposed to with Watson, and it's also another thing to bring up is that obviously it doesn't feel like the Packers are going to trade for George Pickens now. I think we can kind of say like they were a team highly rumored for that. I don't think that's going to happen anymore. So yeah,
Christian Watson for George Pickens and
oh geez, great, thanks. That's just what we wanted.
Hey, another one man's trash is another man's treasure. You never know.
Hopefully he can stay on the field.
This Minnesota one, I just don't know for them. Like
they could go anywhere or a lot of places.
Nick Emmanwori has been the name popular to this, but
I think on offense, it would be left guard, which would be Donovan Jackson. Then they could continue to beef up the defensive line. But I think it would be, cornerback or safety here. So I would go with, I think it is going to be Emmanwori if I had to bet. But it could be Jahad Campbell. We're into the point where guys are kind of just taking the best player available on their board for less need.
So I did the one thing you should never do during a draft.
What?
Open Twitter.
They did take Donovan Jackson.
They took Donovan Jackson, and then something else just happened.
Wow.
I shouldn't have opened Twitter, but
all right, I'm going to stay tuned then.
Stay tuned, folks, and don't open Twitter when you're watching the draft. Tom Pelissero ruins everything for you.
Interesting. I'm going to guess. Oh, it's the Giants. There it is. Yeah, the Giants have moved up in the draft. There we go.
Is it Shador? Is it Jackson Dart? It's Jackson Dart.
Jackson Dart. I've heard it's Jackson Dart. And who did they trade from? Houston? Houston's not a Kayvon Thibodeau team, though, so I don't think they're going to trade Kayvon Thibodeau for this. I don't think that happened. Because they have Danielle Hunter and Will Henderson. But
that's an interesting one.
This is obviously, in my opinion, Jackson Dart.
$34.99 and a third rounder.
$34.99 in the third. That's, a good haul for the Houston, in my opinion.
To move back 4 spots, 5. What is it? 1, 2, 3,
like
4, 5, 6, 7 spots.
7 spots, yeah. Not bad. Yeah, I would do that if I was them. And I guess the question, like you said, is it Shador or is it Jackson Dart? I think everything we've heard is that it would probably be Jackson Dart. due to.
Well, it was kind of leaked last night. If you saw, Joe Shane's son posted this like highlight reel the Giants were putting together of Jackson Dart.
I did see that. Yeah, I saw a lot of things that point to them leading to Jackson Dart here. So,
and I think Joe Shen is like an alum of Ole Miss, or his son goes to Ole Miss or something like that. And then Eli Manning's Ole Miss connections to like, and then Joe Brady is a coach at Ole Miss too. So
there were a lot of ties that, Peter Schrager talked about a lot of the ties.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense. You know, they obviously have him as their second best quarterback. Obviously, if he's your second best quarterback and your first quarterback was gone at pick 1, you're obviously at least, you know, maybe not highly considering him, but he was at least a thought at number 3. And now you can come back at number 25. You can make a play for him. I mean, the reality is that if you want me to be completely honest, I think Brian Dable and the GM are on the hot seat. I think the roster isn't necessarily good enough. I don't think Jackson Dart's going to be the answer, and I would bet on both of them getting fired.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like that.
This December 31st, I think those two are going to be gone.
Taking that HBO contract and doing the Hard Knocks was one of the dumbest things they could have done.
Joe Shane looked bad, yeah.
Dude, and then his son being like, you should draft Jaden Daniels. And they clearly couldn't, but now that clip's out there, it makes them look even worse.
Funny. Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. The Giants, I just don't. And I mean, who's going to get the reps between now you have Jameis, Russell, and Jackson Dart? So when is Jackson going to get the reps? How are you going to mix him in? They're probably going to do the thing what the Chicago Bears did with Matt Nagy and Justin Fields where, well, we're going to start Andy Dalton for 3 stupid games. We're going to waste all summer giving Andy Dalton all the reps. And then Justin Fields is going to come in with no reps and no experience. It's going to be a disaster. And they're all going to get fired. That's honestly – it's unfortunate, but because, you know, it's like, oh, we're still in the dream of, you know, Jackson Dart could be good. And if he's, you know, it's definitely possible. And if he has a good rookie season, they will keep their jobs. And the reality is that they're probably going to lose their jobs no matter what they did, which is like rocking a hard place. So why not take a shot at a quarterback? Because how do you keep your job is you draft a quarterback who's good. And if you don't draft a quarterback who's good, you're going to lose your job. So at least they took a shot at keeping their jobs. So
I just had a thought though. I saw the trade is really timed interestingly because they jumped the Rams. So what if the Rams were in on Dart this whole time, not Milroe or Shador, and they had to jump?
I think it at least makes sense that, I mean, that would be the team that they would have had to have jumped, in my opinion. So, I mean, whether they know, you know, do they know for sure that the Rams are in on this, that, and the other? No. But do they view the Rams as a team that, you know, do we want to play that game and deal with the Rams? No. You know what I mean? I think that's what they're saying. Let's not mess around and wonder what the Rams are going to do. Let's not do that.
And Jackson Dart stayed home too instead of going to the draft.
Third round pick too is one of the third. So it's like one of those picks. Like I said, Joe Shane might not even be around and not to miss it.
Yeah, but they get a 2 and a 3 this year just to move back 7 spots.
Oh yeah, I like it for Houston. I think it's a great move for Houston. Considering, I mean, well, there you go about Josh Simmons, left tackle from Ohio State. I think we know what we know about his medical concerns as well. You know, I think he would have gone higher or to Houston there. I think, you know what I mean? They would have been like, oh, yeah, well, we can't trade out of that. But they said, you know what? This guy's got medical red flags. We're concerned. So he's
looking at it, Baltimore, Detroit, Washington, Houston could still get Josh Simmons early second round where they're at.
Yeah, they could. But I guess now the question is KC at 31. Do they do that?
But they just got Jalen Moore from San Francisco to be their tackle. So,
but is that like a 1 year, you know, like a
swing tackle guy?
Yeah, like let's give him a year, and then so Josh Simmons can get his feet under him, and then we have a real high upside. And yeah, we could move Jalen Moore to guard. I think the Niners have tried that before, even. So yeah,
I think they gave him like $7 to $12 million a year or something crazy.
The first year, I think it's all in the first year though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I think like I said, I think they could even like move him around or like figure something out. But yeah, they paid him.
I went to go look up Jalen Moore, and Twitter was open, and I got buckle in, everybody, buckle in.
Oh, geez. Wow. Okay. That's good because it keeps us watching.
Yeah, it keeps it exciting.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean the Rams, Baltimore, Detroit.
I'll tell you this much too: the team that whatever is going to happen is shocking.
Wow. Oh, Atlanta. Oh, what's Atlanta doing up there? That's interesting.
Shocking, man.
All right, Atlanta. What is Atlanta doing up there? Who did they draft? Jalen Walker. What are they doing up there? Jahad Campbell? Like, what are they doing? Will Johnson? What are they doing?
What are they doing?
Yeah, I'm confused by Atlanta. The Giants, I get Atlanta. And who's Atlanta? Well, see, here's the
Who's
thing.
still on the board?
If you want to be a conspiracy person, the Rams jumped back. Was it weird timing that the Rams jumped back once they knew that a quarterback was going?
Yeah. Hey. What if the Falcons paired like Mike Green and
yeah, I know.
Jalen Walker?
Yeah, just thinking.
It'd be kind of cool.
We're gonna take him at 15. Let's jump up and get the guy we're gonna take at 15.
Because we got the other guy.
Yeah, right. I'm also gonna speculate maybe Luther Burden because Ray McLeod is their slot receiver.
Darnell played nice for them last year, though.
Yeah, I know, but in 11 personnel, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, and Ray McLeod. So then you bump that up to Luther Burden. It'd be overkill, but I don't know. I don't know what you're
Jackson.
Jackson Dart. Yeah, that was not surprising based on.
No.
I'll give Todd McShay credit that.
Do you ever wonder how all these first-round draft picks just have the nicest houses they're in?
Yeah. Well, I think
I guess NIL now doesn't. It's not as surprising.
That's true. Yeah, some of them have been rich for years, and some of them their parents are already rich. Like, I mean, obviously Mason Taylor probably has a nice house. His dad's Jason Taylor.
Mason Taylor's dad's Jason Taylor?
Yeah, the old.
Dude, I just realized this year that the girl from Fox is Jason Taylor's sister.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she grew up in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
I didn't know that was his sister.
Yep. So yeah, that's Jason Taylor's son is
Mason.
and didn't I forget, wasn't it like Zach Thomas's sister is married to Jason Taylor?
Oh, so, yeah, there was something like that whenever he signed with the Dolphins.
Yeah, it's like Zach Thomas's sister and Jason Taylor's dad is the Mason Taylor is the kid. So he's like,
hey, not bad.
I think he'll be in a big house when he gets drafted.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's things like that.
But also not bad genes for that player either.
Right. Oh, yeah, and here's the other thing to solidify that I think maybe Atlanta's coming up for a pass rusher is they jump Baltimore, who we just talked about. Baltimore could be looking for
Raku.
Yeah, or James Pierce or Mike Green, because I think they were probably looking at all those guys at 15.
I mean, they got Aurora and Morgan Fox right now on the DNs.
Oh, they need it all, man. They need it all. Yeah, they need defensive line. I mean, opposite of Jalen Walker is Leonard Floyd, another Georgia guy who can play on his feet.
Tyreek Williams still out there.
Yeah, you could. But I think if you're jumping Baltimore, and we keep talking about these defensive pass rushers being on the board and it being surprising, that's where I lean. Or it's Will Johnson. I mean, could be a quarterback.
Or I don't know. This might be too much of a reach. Josh Simmons, right tackle, put him out there opposite of Matthews.
They have, I think they paid Caleb McGarry, who I don't love, but they paid him enough to make it questionable if that's, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Did you pull that off or not? Yeah. I think it would be like an upgrade. Or, I mean, it's true that Josh Simmons is probably going to have to sit for a year or a good portion of a year. So then Caleb McGarry will be gone next year. So. And I mean, at this point, you could argue that he's far and away the best player left. I think it would be like Josh Simmons and Mike Green and Jahad Campbell are probably the three far and away best players left, in my opinion. Josh Simmons has injuries. Mike Green has the sexual assault. Jahad Campbell has injuries. So I think those are, shoot for the stars types of guys, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of high on Tyreek Williams.
I like Tyreek Williams a lot too. I guess to me, it's just like he's a nose tackle. Like he's going to be a really good nose tackle. It's like hard to he'll defend the run really well, limited pass rush, good player, really good player. But, yeah.
Jahad Campbell definitely does make sense too, though.
And yeah, I mean, they've went, Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Now they need to, feed the defense, whether, 2 times in the same round. Do it, Atlanta. A future first. Whoa, Atlanta, what are you doing? Oh, no. Whoa.
After the other team just gave a third for that same move, a better move.
They moved up 20 spots, though, but wow. What does Atlanta think they're on? They think they're going to win the Super Bowl next year.
Who do they just try and get?
Yeah, what are they doing? Mike Green? Do they think Mike Green is that good? Will Johnson? Because he was so highly regarded.
Dude, this is
future first. I mean, what if Penix is bad? You're going to trade. I mean, the 15th pick is where they were this year. What if you trade?
What if it's Shadur?
Yeah, he just drafted Michael Penix. Oh my! I mean, geez, they traded a future first. Whoa.
This is crazy. The Rams. How do the Rams always make out like that and always get shit?
The Rams got a future first. That's interesting for their quarterback.
And the Falcons too, who's going to be bad, so they're going to get a good
That's what I'm
pick out of
wondering.
it.
Yeah, like how good do the Falcons think they're going to be? They think that division's for the taking. James Pierce, yeah. So is it?
I mean,
yeah.
Him and
They got-
Walker opposite each other is kind of sweet, but a first-round pick.
Ooh,
So you're saying, so this is what this tells me. Jalen Walker is worth 1 first-round pick. James Pierce is worth 2 first-round picks.
I guess. I mean, I get. Well, there you go. Jeremiah just compared him to Leonard Floyd, and that's who Atlanta has. That's who literally he's.
Yeah,
gonna
but
take
you
the job.
use this year's pick and you give
Yeah,
him
no, it's
next year.
insane. Yeah, oh, it's insane. And really,
It
what
makes
to me
no
says
sense.
is they were debating those two so heavily at 15.
That's crazy.
Like they planned on taking James Pierce at 15, and they valued him as a top 15 player in this draft. And they just think,
That almost tells me they value him more than Jalen Walker, in a way.
I get what you're saying, but I guess I think they value them like equally, and that's why like they were like, we think that they're so equal that we're gonna have to go back up and get this guy because he's fallen way too far.
Yeah,
now.
but one
And
guy
he
was
gonna
at
fall to Baltimore. Baltimore was going to take him. Yeah,
your natural slot. The other one you mortgaged your future to get.
yeah. I mean, I
That's
think it would.
crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
No, yeah. I think yeah, it would have been like the other way around too. You know what I mean? Like if Walker fell, they would have done the same. I think
If they're both nasty, though, we're gonna look at this and be like, whatever. But
I mean, I said it. Atlanta hasn't had a good, edge rusher in a long time. They've neglected that spot. So I mean, I get taking 2 shots at it, and if it doesn't work, I just think that first round pick is a lot. It's a lot.
that's what I just can't see past. If they would even give like 3rd-round picks.
Like you said, there's just enough potential for disaster that could be a really high pick.
Rap just said there they couldn't decide between James
Yeah.
Pierce and Jalen
Yeah,
Walker.
that's exactly, yeah. That's the only way that, they were they valued him that highly that they said, this is a top 15 pick that we're going to trade a future first round pick to get a top 15 pick. If you view it like that, then I viewed it as, I understand why James Pierce fell and, maybe it'd be good value here, but not trading a future first for him. Atlanta is always doing these interesting things. If it doesn't work, you're in big trouble if you're Atlanta. And I mean, the Rams are in with a future first, and the Browns are in with a future first. And everyone's saying, oh, that's going to be a deeper quarterback class. We don't know. We'll never know for sure. But the Rams and the Browns, 2 teams that were linked to quarterbacks in this draft, are picking up future firsts potentially for quarterbacks in next year's draft. So
Crazy that the Rams would have. I just cannot.
yeah,
believe
that's
they
so
got
rare.
first for that.
They moved down 20 spots though. So I mean, they're basically out of this draft. Their first pick is 46. So they moved out of this draft for a future first. Interesting. But I mean, that 46 is Jalen Milroe territory,
Yeah, so I was just trying to check out some stuff, and it does sound like the Rams were interested in Jackson Dart and thought he was going to be there, and that's
Wow.
what they did.
And that's why the Giants jumped them. And that's why I'm telling you that Baltimore was going to take James Pierce is why they jumped them. Yeah. So it all is making sense. And now does Baltimore take Mike Green? Do they take Devin Ezeraku? Do they take Josh Simmons because Ronnie Stanley's getting old? That would make a lot of sense.
I think Devin Ezeraku, the second for some reason, the second I started mocking, I could just see him in a Ravens jersey.
Yeah,
And
that's a real good fit.
he just looks like a Raven. They always get those guys that are like later in the draft studs. He's just
And Kyle Van Noy's still there. I think that would be a great person for him to play behind is Kyle Van Noy.
transitioning out of Cal. Yeah.
Yeah, like you learn from Kyle Van Noy. Like those two are similar in how they play football, I think. So I think that'd be a great fit.
And again, we were saying kind of earlier, though, like Jahad Campbell falling to the Ravens, though, they don't technically need it, but they could use it. I mean,
But I do think now that we're this far, I think that he's fallen for his shoulder. And Mike Green's falling because his assault charges aren't standing up well.
so who's going to fall to the Chiefs that we don't want the Chiefs to get right now? Like, that's going to happen.
I think it's Simmons, the left tackle.
They don't
And
need
other people are saying Travion.
Yeah. Pacheco, but yeah. Interesting. Yeah, this Falcons thing is just throwing me for a loop, man.
That's a big pick for them to give up.
And for them, the Rams then to pick up a first-round pick next year.
Yeah.
If the Falcons suck, the Rams
Yeah,
are going to.
I don't love this draft, so I mean, for them to get out of this draft and to get into next year's, I think those are good ideas.
So smart, such a good move.
Yeah, the Rams always stand.
Les Snead, man.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see because now they have their own second rounder and they have 46, so they can really try and do two things. But I mean, both of them are going to be, it's what, like 46 and like 58. I want to say their other one is 46 and 58. So I mean, they're not going to pick like impact players, but they could get two guys there.
How about Tyler Booker going to the Cowboys at 12?
All three of the interior guys went off high though. Gray Zabel, Tyler Booker, and Donovan Jackson all went.
And so DJ thought Zabel was going to go 11.
Yeah, right. But he did go early enough. But it does show you here. Here's my rankings is that I have Tate Ratledge as the next guard, and he's a real true guard. And then from there, I have Marcus Bowe, who played tackle, Jonathan Savania, who played tackle, Emory Jones, who played tackle, Wyatt Millam, who played tackle, Jalen Rivers, who played tackle. So I mean, all these guys are like the true guards are gone. You know what I mean? Now you're talking about tackles who you need to convert to guard, or like that's what's left at guard, in my opinion. So,
I mean, yeah, it's not worth reaching for. Baltimore needs guard though. They do need interior line.
Yeah, but like I said, that tier is blown up. Now it's Simmons. Do you draft Simmons and he sits a year behind Ronnie Stanley? That makes a lot of sense to me. And then Mike Green and Donovan Ezeraku. Campbell has the injury. I don't know what else they would do. Nicky Manmorier for Baltimore. That'd be wild.
I really like Malachi Starks next to the Commanders, but another place where, hey, Bobby Wagner is kind of getting old, or kind of he is getting old. Hod Campbell there, learn from Bobby Wagner. That could be a nice pick. Dan Quinn, defensive coach.
Yeah, they could blitz a lot. Yeah. I think, it's who's going to be not concerned about the injury.
All I know is Mina Kimes is shaking her fist at this draft because she thought Jahad Campbell was a top 5 player.
It's probably a shoulder injury. Sorry, Mina.
Yeah.
Like, you got to understand that there's a lot going on that we don't know about. Malachi Starks to the Baltimore.
Wow.
It makes sense. I didn't like Eman Warrier's tape as much as a lot of people did. I just didn't. I thought he missed a lot of tackles. He wasn't.
I thought you liked Eman Warrior more than Starks.
No, I thought the NFL did, and I'm surprised that they don't. But yeah, I like Starks more than him. I actually didn't even like Starks that much, but I think the issue with Starks last year is that he played in the slot, and I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh, he can play free safety and he can play slot," and I'm saying, you know what? He can play free safety and he cannot play the slot. So that's what I think about.
To pair him with Kyle Hamilton, or is this to free Kyle Hamilton up to play more linebacker?
And to play more slot, yeah. Because then this guy is going to play he's going to replace Marcus Williams as that back half center field. Because I'm telling you, he played the slot last year. He wasn't nearly as good. I really don't think he was. I think he had issues. But I think if you stick him in center field, then you're talking about something like he's smart, he's instinctive. He just can't play man coverage against like guys who are going to play in the slot, like big guys. Like, you just can't do that, in my opinion. So I think, you stick him at free safety, you stick Kyle Hamilton at strong safety, or you play him in the slot is what I would do.
Well, you could – yeah.
Which is why I guess he makes more sense than Eman Warrior, who's a bigger guy. But I thought Eman Warrior almost was like better as a safety or a free safety. Because like I said, I just thought he missed so many tackles. It was like so I thought he lacked instincts in the box.
So looking at the way they have this lined up, they got Wiggins and Awuzie out wide and then Humphrey at nickel.
The spot, yeah. That makes sense to me. And then you would put Hamilton.
So Malachi Starks and Hamilton could then both stay back.
But yeah, Hamilton would be the strong and Malachi would be the free. But yeah. And then I think
I was just because last year Baltimore played Hamilton like 100 plus snaps at linebacker, which is crazy.
I would say more like nickel than linebacker. Like a big power nickel is like he played a lot of.
He was up in the box looking like a linebacker. Yeah,
it was like up there, but I think it was more like a nickel is like how I would describe his role. But they had someone else They had Eddie Jackson and Marcus Williams, who they both got rid of because they're both old and slow, which is why they brought in Malachi Starks, because then it gives.
Good
Yeah,
pick.
last year I think he had a really bad year because they were asking him to do things that, I mean, he's not going to be. Yeah, I mean, like we just said, whether it be Kyle Williams or Kyle Hamilton in the slot or Marlon Humphrey in the slot. And the thing about Marlon Humphrey is that he's so smart that you can run those inverted cover 2 stuff where Marlon Humphrey goes back to safety and Hamilton comes up to the slot, and they change at the snap, and that'll become really diverse. And then you can have Starks just stay deep and give you that over the top protection that Marcus Williams used to give you, but he was so old and slow last year. So yeah, I mean, Starks was awful in the slot in my opinion, and he's not going to be asked to play the slot. So whoo.
Who do you got for Detroit here?
You think Tyleek Williams would make sense?
That's why I like Tyleek. I mean, I could see them going edge, pairing someone with Aiden, like as a Raku
or Green, but those two don't defend the run, and I don't see Dan Campbell taking a guy who's not as good against the run as like Tyleek is. Like all he does is defend the run.
Yeah,
and then I think it could be Luther Burden potentially. I think at some point you got to get sick of Jalen Williams, right, or Jameson Williams.
Yeah, they've added a lot of secondary the past few years. They have Jack Campbell and who's the other one? Malcolm Rodriguez. Is Anzalone still playing linebacker?
Yeah, Anzalone's still there.
They may be able to add a linebacker. I think the best. Go ahead.
If they love Jihad, they would. Yeah, they'd have to love him.
Yeah, but Josh Pascal opposite Aiden right now. Like they had that. Who'd they get last year midway through the season?
I guess. Like, did you say when you said JT to they got Zadarius Smith, who's gone? Yeah.
Yeah, Tui Loamao, however you say it. I like him here too. I think they can make that.
Right, over Ezraku and Green, who I have ranked slightly higher, but I have Tua Moa because he's so much better of a run defender. JT, I have so much of a better run defender than Donovan and Mike Green. So
I really like the fit of him in this defense.
Yeah, he has such a high floor. He plays his butt off. He fights really hard. If you're looking at like fit, he fits Detroit way more than Mike Green does. So yeah, but I think Tyleek Williams really fits Detroit. I think he's a really good.
Yeah, my number one for Detroit would be Tyleek. I think Tui Molau is my guess on how to say that. He'd be the next one. I don't see the Luther Burden. I mean, they could be sick of Jameson Williams, but he's also a baller. So it's like you put up with it because he scores. You don't think so? I like him. I like his. Yeah, I mean,
he just makes so
much.
He had a good year last year. Yeah, he did have a good year.
He had a good year, and you're giving Amon-Ra X amount of receptions a game or targets. Sam Laporta is going to eat, so it's like, how many mouths do you want to put into there? And you also don't have Ben Johnson to spread the wealth anymore. Yeah. Like you have a protege, so it's like
you probably got to go defensive line here. They were shuffling through too many. But like I said, I just think all the edge rushers that fit them are gone except for JT. So I lean to Tyleek.
JT's on a reach here, in my opinion. I think it's a fine pick.
You're right. Yeah, I don't think he's – I mean, he's not considering if you have these two edge rushers that I have ahead of him. I don't think they're fits at all. So it's – I mean, he's obviously the next best on my board. If my board was Detroit's board, he would be the next best because those two don't fit. Yeah. Tyleek. Yeah, that makes sense.
To go in the first round.
And that clears out this edge rusher tier because now I have it – like now I have a big gap. And then, Alfred Collins, TJ Sanders, Shamar Turner, Ty Hamilton, Darius Alexander, Josh Farmer.
I would be curious if you go back and watch this, how many, like when it gets to that team's pick, we're like, okay, it could be.
Yeah, we nailed it or whatever. Yeah, I probably will listen back at some point. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably just jump on Friday, at least for a little bit. I don't know if I'll do the whole thing or not, but talk through something.
The second round or is it second and third?
Second and third, yeah. Definitely won't do Saturday. Saturday's way too boring. We're not going to get any of the picks right. I don't know.
Yeah. I definitely can't do Saturday, but I mean, if you're on tomorrow, I'll definitely pop in and for sure.
All right, I think I'll start at like 7 on Friday. We'll probably jump on and at least do until it gets boring or something. I'm gonna know all the second and third round guys, so I'll be into it. But yeah, we'll see. There's
Washington lost Malachi Starks here. They could go Eamon Worry, but
they sure could.
I kind of like the idea of Bobby Wagner training Jihad Campbell a little bit. I know they're different style players, but.
Yeah, he's more like Frankie Louvu almost, which, I mean, they have Frankie Louvu on the roster.
Yeah.
So. I think another one is that replace Austin Eckler with Travion Henderson. I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh yeah, you said that. I like that. That's a good one. But could they do that in the second round?
I don't know now that Marion Hampton went. I mean, I think in my opinion, Travion's clearly the next guy, And then from there it gets into, Quinshon Judkins and Caleb Johnson that I have like real questions with. So
they're also working with Cleveland Farrell and Dorrance Armstrong at DN. So Mike
they could really use a pass rusher, yeah.
I think that might be the move. It would be Mike Green. Who's the other one that's out there? There's another. Two JT.
And JT, yeah.
Oh, Ezeraku. I like Ezeraku. I like him a lot.
Yeah. I still think, though, of when you think about a Dan Quinn defense, I think JT is still the best fit of those three.
Yeah.
Sorry to
yeah, but they also don't have the pin your ears back and go after the quarterback guy. So, like, wouldn't you want to prioritize like Mike Green?
Or Mike Green. Yeah, you're right.
I feel like that might be – you could always get a JT next year, a form of a JT next year.
Yeah, he's a high floor, low ceiling guy in my opinion.
I'm going to say no. I think Ezeraku is going to go to Philly at 32.
I could see that. Or Mike Green, yeah.
Or they just traded C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so Eamon Worry there. But then there's also the rumor of Mason Taylor going to the Eagles. Like,
all right, I'm going to call my shot here to close it off. I'm going to say Travion, then Luther Burden to Buffalo, then Casey goes Josh Simmons, then Mike Green goes Philadelphia, because I have those guys rated really highly, and that's what I think is going to happen.
I don't know if I'd be able to rattle off like that, but Washington.
I have a board in front of me, so and I have like I have them color-coded and tiered off, so it's easy for me to do this.
I'm going to say, I don't know. I like the idea of John Campbell there, but they're going to go edge rusher, either Mike Green or they need edge. Buffalo, I like the idea of wide receiver there. Luther Burden, yeah. Who else? Yeah.
It would be. Yeah, I think it would be that or cornerback. All those cornerbacks for Buffalo.
KC needs to go interior, or they're going to shock and go edge, or they could go JT. JT again, opposite Karlaftis there would be pretty crazy, and then Ezeraku or Mason Taylor for Philly.
Yeah, I just have it because those are. I have it like color coded that like yellow or like first round, and then green or like second or third round, and I have not had a single green guy taken yet, so that's good.
So all your gold guys have gone to the first round.
Yeah, which is why I'm calling my shot that I think those are going to be the ones that go off, because then it kind of clears out the gold before any of the green.
All right, riddle it off again.
Travion, Luther Burden, Josh Simmons, Mike Green.
Okay. So what color is Devin Ezeraku?
He's also gold. Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
And so is Jahad Campbell, but he might fall, due to his shoulder.
I mean, it's looking that way. That shoulder injury must be pretty,
right.
Red flags or whatever the term would be.
Yeah, it's obviously causing him to fall out of the first round. And then, there's Eamon Warrior, and there's the cornerbacks, Will Johnson, Trey Amos, Maxwell Harrison.
Also, Carson Schwarzenegger is pretty good. There may be a point where Carson Schwarzenegger goes over Jahad Campbell.
That's a lot, though, yeah. I get it.
The way it's falling.
Yeah, the way he's fallen in the injuries. But, man, Schwarzenegger, he started 10 games in his career. He was like a former safety.
Yeah.
Still
there's Demetrius Knight and Chris Paul and Stutz. There's a few guys. They're all debut guys.
Those guys, you get to those. Chris Paul's tiny. Demetrius Knight is 25 years old already. You start to get to these guys. These linebackers have huge issues with them, which is why none of them have been taken yet. And yeah.
Stutzman's that old school linebacker, not so much like the new age safety converted.
I got him third. He's my third rated because I just think Bossa is clearly like a passing down linebacker. Chris Paul is almost too small to play in the NFL, but the NFL is getting smaller, so he's a shot. Demetrius Knight's 25 years old. I like Demetrius Knight's tape, but it's hard to draft a dude who's going to be
I like him, but damn.
6 years older than the guys you're playing against. No wonder you're beating up on teenagers. You're a grown man.
Yeah. All right, Rod, what do you got for us?
There are holes in a lot of these guys. But yeah, the tiers are going exactly how I thought so far in terms of the D-line tier is cleared. The top receivers are cleared. Connerly, Simmons. Didn't they
Josh
just do
Connerly first round?
Laramie Tunsil? What are they doing?
Yeah,
They
they
just
just
traded right tackle.
That's weird.
I mean, they drafted Brandon Coleman too, who is going to play guard. Sam Cosmi tore his ACL last year.
How old's Andrew Wiley?
Andrew Wiley is replaced. Yeah. Good night, Andrew Wiley. Your night is over. Your career is. I mean, with that, like they just got too much going on now. Jeez. I mean, yeah, Tunsil's going to start at left tackle.
I don't see Connerly over Josh Simmons though. Maybe the health. That's the only thing.
No, yeah, it has to be health. Yeah. It has to be health. And that's the first green guy that got drafted in my tiers. The first one. So there you go. That's the first guy that I think was selected slightly too high. Although I really liked Connerly. Just didn't think he had like the power, which I guess is why, in my opinion, because he obviously is not going to play left tackle. That's obvious. They traded for Laramie Tunsil. So do you put him at guard or do you put him at right tackle? That is the question. I guess you put him at guard and then his power is less of an issue. I just didn't see him that way. I think
that's an interesting one for me. I like Josh Connerly. I thought he had the agility to be outside zone like tackle in ways.
Right.
But this is
so now is he a zone?
I guess they do run a form of the outside zone in Washington. So
right.
I don't know. That's a weird one.
Because you're either shifting him to right tackle or you're shifting him to guard. I think, like you said, because of the athleticism, I think you stick him in at guard, and that it takes away a lot of his questions at tackle.
You can almost argue, though, his athleticism. It's like you could stick him anywhere because he's so athletic. So it's like,
yeah,
I guess that's probably the big thing too. Where Simmons, he's
a left.
He's also a tackle.
Yeah, but I mean, left tackles are rare, or they're hard to find, which is why it surprises me that you trade for Tunsil and then you draft a left tackle. Why wouldn't you not?
Unless they see him as a right tackle guard combo,
right? And if you see him as a right tackle, it makes plenty of sense because I mean, I liked Brandon Coleman as a rookie, but I mean, here's what you do: is you stick Brandon Coleman in a guard, and then you got Laramie at left tackle, Connerly at right tackle, and then Sam Cosmi tore his ACL, so you have Allegretti slot in for him for the time being. And then you have Brandon Coleman, who I liked as a rookie, and Tyler Biadish, a free agent center. So I mean, now your line is set. Okay, I mean, I don't hate it.
They got Herbig as well at guard.
Yeah, who's depth? Yeah, which adds to the fact that maybe he does play tackle.
Tackle, yeah, that's what I'm trying to. Yeah,
because I think Coleman would be best as a guard. I know he handled left tackle duties well last season. But, I mean, I guess the fact that he started a full season at left tackle and they went out and traded for Laramie Tunsil and then drafted Josh Connerly, maybe that tells you what they thought of him at tackle.
Yeah. Speaks volumes.
Yeah, it speaks volumes there. So, Brandon Coleman will be a guard next season if I had to put money on it. I know all you guys tuning in about Brandon Coleman's status right now.
Yeah.
So here we go. Luther Burden or a cornerback, right?
They just signed Bosa. They got Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones, Greg Rousseau. That's a great D-line, so they're not going to go Mike Green or any of those leftovers. Matt Milano, he's kind of injured at times at linebacker, but he's pretty solid there. Yeah. Dorian Williams, Terrell Bernard. I mean, you could maybe go linebacker, but
I think they like Bernard.
They did add Josh Palmer in the offseason. Was KJ Hamler a recent add too, or was he on the team last year?
Yeah, but I mean, what are you expecting from him? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, they have Shakir, Palmer, and Coleman. You could argue that they don't need a receiver. As bad as they just signed Trey White like yesterday, and he's like listed as a starting cornerback. So they probably need a cornerback really bad right here.
Wait, who?
Trey White.
Tre'Davious White?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing Dane Jackson, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, same difference is, I mean, if Dane Jackson's your starter, you probably need to upgrade over that.
And Will Johnson is just fallen.
Yeah, Will Johnson, Harrison, Amos, they're all there.
I'm honestly at this point seeing how the NFL teams feel about Will Johnson. I'm almost at the point where I'm liking Amos and Harrison more.
Yeah, I think there's more upside with them. Yeah. So
I mean, Amos got the size. That's a big factor in today's game, having that length and that size. And then Harrison 4.26, 4.29, or whatever it was.
So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if either of them went over Johnson here. Johnson had an awful pre-draft, and I thought his tape wasn't very good. 2023, obviously, I didn't watch much 2023. I just don't have the time to do that, but I wasn't impressed by
A
his
few
2023.
highlight plays that he had to lead to the championship.
And like everyone had him, mocked really highly based off of his 2023. But his 2024 was not good, and then he got hurt, and now he hasn't done anything good since then. So we'll see. I think it'll be a cornerback. As much as I think Burden would be a great fit with Josh Allen, I just don't think they have. I think they have a way bigger need at cornerback, and all those cornerbacks are still there.
It's interesting you like Burden. I mean, they're not the same player, but they have Curtis Samuel on the roster who's kind of can't fulfill that role. So it's like, okay, cut Curtis Samuel, put
Yes,
Burden.
That's what I would like him for. Yeah.
Damn it, man.
Yeah, getting us all fired up.
No, I just did it again where I went to go check
Oh,
something.
you saw the pick. Oh, what is
No,
Morgan?
I saw something else happen.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Buckle up. It's kind of good that I see it so that I can preface it and say, get ready.
Anytime you do that, I look up at the screen and I'm like, oh, Atlanta traded?
Did you see what happened? They showed it.
No.
You can look closer.
Cleveland. What? Cleveland has another second?
No, look who's next.
Philly. Oh, Philly switched with KC. Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Philly and Casey just swap picks.
Yeah, what's that all about?
I don't know.
I still think Mike Green to Philly and Josh Simmons to KC. Maxwell Harrison, there you go. We are not surprised that they took Maxwell
Over Will
Harrison.
Johnson, yeah, better
That's
pick.
another one. When I listen back, I'll write that. I'm going to give us credit for that one.
And you know what? I think I put Maxwell Harrison in my mock, and I said you're going up against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle twice a year and stuff, so you might as well go for the speed.
Yeah, 4.28. Yeah, I honestly, I'm not. Yeah, we already said it, but I'm not shocked at all that they took him over Will Johnson.
Eagles traded 32 and 164 for 31.
That's so weird. What are they doing that for? Mike Green? Like, as if are they that high on him?
And at this point, the Giants could have definitely got Jackson Dart at 34.
No, we already clarified.
The Rams. The Rams.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah.
Yeah, we already thought about that. Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, Philly is not going to go with a tackle here. So what are they going to do? They should go defensive line here. It should
What if KC was considering Mason Taylor as a backup for Kelsey's getting old?
Right,
I know
like
he was raised there, but maybe they jumped him for Mason Taylor.
Or I guess
Or Devin Ezraku.
Or the question is that KC was getting calls from teams, 5 picks back for X player, and they said, "Hey, Philly, we're getting calls for your guy." You know what I mean? Like, we'll gladly move back one spot, but if you don't offer us something to move back one spot, then we're going to trade your guy to somebody.
Probably like Ezraku or
Mike Green. Yeah, I think it would be Mike Green. That people are saying, "Oh, let's just get it back." He was a high first round pick. The sexual assault allegations. Let's sneak back into the first and take him in the last pick. And they said, "Hey, Philly, we're going to trade Mike Green if you don't come up and get him. So just throw us a 5th. We'll move back one spot. We're still going to get our guy, but we're going to move if you don't do this." And Philly was like, "Okay, you got us."
Or they're like, "Yeah, hey Philly, who do you want? Because we know who other people want. Tell us now."
Right. Yeah. That's what I would assume more than I don't think Philly is like stealing a KC guy. I think Philly's stealing whoever wanted to move up ahead of them for this guy. Someone wanted to jump Philly for X, and now Philly gets X because they jumped themselves. I'm guessing Mike Green.
Ian Rappaport's feeling the same way as you. Commanders pick at 29, Josh Connolly. They trade for Laramie Tunsil, then take a first-round OT.
Yeah, thanks. It'd be one thing if you had, right tackle experience, or you thought you would see him at right tackle, or
Yeah.
I thought he was a pretty pure left tackle who had, a few flaws or whatever, but now he's obviously not going to play left tackle, so it'd be interesting. Come on, 2 more picks.
Damn it.
Yeah. But yeah, this flew by. This was fun.
Yeah. Yeah, the 5th round pick to move up. I'm so curious.
I'm guessing it's Mike Green because he has so much upside that other teams were calling to get in for him.
That'll be a cool jersey, the Kelly Green jersey with green on the back.
Yeah, there you go.
Or the Steelers should just sign Mike Green and then, We can repurpose Mean Joe Green jerseys.
Give him number 75. People would not lose their minds.
Ooh. I know the pick.
Uh-oh. Ooh, I'm freaking
I'd
out.
be surprised.
Damn, they're going to get a commercial too? Okay, so it's not Mike Green. I guess it could be Nick Emmanwori. That would actually make a lot of sense considering Sidney Brown is their listed starting safety if they went Nick Emmanwori.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to say.
Yeah, I guess we're going to sit here and speculate as they go to commercial.
Yeah,
But,
I mean, if we wanted to have the inside scoop, we could talk about what the pick is.
Yeah, why not? Who cares? Let's just go. Yeah.
Jahad Campbell.
Okay, so that makes. I mean, it's obvious that due to the injury questions, Nick. How much did they give Zach Bond? A decent amount of money, right?
But they traded up to get Campbell, so someone was trying to jump back into the first
spot. It took a 5th round pick, but yeah, it just shows
no,
that
like you were saying, they were getting the call saying, "Hey."
Yeah. Someone wanted to come back in for Campbell. So his shoulder was questionable, but not questionable enough. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's kind of a sweet Howie Roseman pick too, to just bolster up, add another linebacker.
Yeah, he fits, especially I think Nakobe Dean tore something in the playoffs. So Nakobe Dean will be out for a little bit. And so you have Jahad Campbell next to Zach Bond for the, coming years or whatever.
Yeah, I would almost say this is like a Jeremiah Trotter Jr. replace. Like he's going to play. Do you think he's going to just be an outside linebacker the whole time?
For the most part, I mean, that's what Trotter would do too. Yeah, it would be more. Yeah, I mean, Bond plays more of that like the Sam role that like you would assume Campbell plays.
I guess it is more of a 3. Like yeah,
I think you would put. Yeah, so you'd put him in the mic, Jahad Campbell at the mic, and yeah, I think Nakobe Dean just you lost your job, brother. See ya, never.
Oh yeah, so they run the 2 middle, 2 outside linebacker. Oh yeah. Okay.
The pass rushers would be Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Those would be their
yeah. That's a nice move.
Yeah, I mean, especially like I said, Dean tore his ACL or something in the playoffs, so he wasn't going to play this year anyways. So
I don't see Jomo.
What's that?
I don't see a Jomo being the guy they have starting at the end right now.
But yeah, that's like on base personnel. And nickel, you would typically, I guess in nickel, he's probably going to play a decent amount because Jordan Davis will not play, a lot of snaps. He'll play.
But this could just make a kind of a position flexibility where you can move Nolan to that kind of edge guy and put Jahad in the game.
Yeah, and you can put Jahad off the edge too.
Yeah. I mean, nice pick.
Yeah.
Nice pick.
Fangio defense. Yeah, he can do a lot of that. He does a lot of that disguising blitzes and showing blitzes. So Nolan Smith will be showing blitz and he'll drop back, and then Jahad Campbell will be showing blitz, or he'll be pretending to drop back and then he'll blitz, things like that. And then Zach Bond is obviously a Sam who he was an outside linebacker at Wisconsin and now he's an inside linebacker. So they have a lot of versatility with between Nolan Smith, Zach Bond, and now Christian. Why'd I call him Christian? Jahad Campbell.
To Ted Nguyen's comp for Jahad Campbell is Zach Bond.
I'll look up my comp. Andrew Van Ginkel. That was he's on the Minnesota Vikings.
Oh, that's a good yeah.
Yeah, he plays in that role.
I like Gink, yeah.
Yeah, similar Brian Flores defense where, like I said, you're showing who's blitzing, and then the blitzer you disguise, they drop back into coverage. That's a lot of what Van Ginkel is.
Eagles and Ravens, always going to draft well.
Yeah, that's a good one. And then, I mean, like I said,
they added Azeez Ojulari and Josh Uche in the offseason. So then they had Jahad Campbell.
That's a lot of pass rushers who can stand up. Uche is another one that can disguise blitzes.
Bryce Huff too, like that team.
Yeah, but he was so bad last year, which is why they keep adding all these guys that can blitz.
I mean, you're talking about Broncos. That might be the best defense in football, right there.
Oh yeah, I mean they just won the Super Bowl and shut down.
I mean, maybe the next season.
I know, yeah. I mean, they're building off of it now. Yeah, that's scary. So yeah, I think the Chiefs. I mean, if you're the Chiefs, I would draft a guy with a red flag like Mike Green or Josh Simmons. Pick your poison. Because one, Andy Reid always drafts guys with red flags. too. Swing for the fences if you're the Chiefs. Go for it.
I'm the Chiefs. I'm trying to figure out who wants a fifth-year option for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I mean, Cleveland's sitting here saying you're not taking one. Why would we trade up? New York's already got.
You trade up for the fifth-year option. You kind of give up. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean. But then the one thing I was saying at the very start was, a lot of these guys, before year 3 anyways, and the fifth-year options are relevant for quarterbacks because when you get to a quarterback on the fifth-year option, it probably means that they aren't living up to expectations. So that's it's nice that it's there for like a lever or whatever. But yeah, it's like I said, it's Daniel Jones, Mitch Trubisky. Those are the guys that get to the fifth-year option. So as much as it's valuable at quarterback, you maybe don't need it. But yeah, there's 3 quarterbacks left in terms of Shedeur, Shuck, and Jalen Milroe. And then there's the Steelers, Cleveland, and now the Giants are out.
Jets.
And New Orleans. Yeah, and the Jets. And then we have Detroit and the Rams are our sleeper teams. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I think they just got a dog.
That'll be the thing for tomorrow is, it would be hard to see Cleveland not take a quarterback now, right? At 33?
Yeah. I mean, they could trade for Kirk.
Yeah, right. And just keep taking guys who can help the roster in the future, whenever you actually have a quarterback. Yeah. It's not like
Aaron
the craziest.
Rodgers.
Yeah.
He's never signed there.
Cleveland not taking a quarterback would really help the Shedeur fall to Pittsburgh or whatever. Pittsburgh doesn't pick till like the 3rd round, though.
I think Pittsburgh's going to worry about the Jets.
Now they probably do, yeah.
Chicago has 2 picks before the Jets. One of those, someone's going to trade up for a quarterback, I think.
Yeah, Chicago could. Where are we at? Pittsburgh's at 83. Yeah, they got a long way to go. 51 picks before they could potentially pick a quarterback. 3 guys, 51 picks. Can 3 guys fall 51 picks is what Pittsburgh's asking right now.
Yeah.
So we'll see tomorrow. Travion fell out of the first round. Luther Burden fell out of the first round. I'd be surprised if either of them went here. One of Mike Green or Ezeraku will certainly be out of it. Will Johnson fell out of the first round. I don't think either of us are surprised. Eman Wari, that's a win for me because a lot of people thought he was really good, and I just didn't see it, and I kept putting him up higher because other people told me to, but sometimes just stick to what you know because, trust your instincts.
One more pick left.
Yep.
Round out the first round.
Yeah, so we'll probably do it again tomorrow. Anyone that's listening to this at this point, tune in tomorrow at 7:00. I think it starts. And so we'll do as many picks until we get bored, honestly. Which probably for me it'll probably be the whole thing because 2nd and 3rd round it will be exciting until the end. After the 3rd round, it gets really not exciting, but the 3rd round will be exciting.
Well, if you want to talk the 32nd pick, just let you know what it is.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's just close it out. Yeah,
Josh Simmons.
I thought so. I thought that would make a lot of sense because, I mean, as much as like I said, they gave him the tackle from you guys 1 year. So he has a year to prove himself. Jalen Moore, yeah. And then what's his name? Jawan Taylor will be a free agent next year. So you move Jalen Moore either to right tackle or guard from left tackle, and then you stick in Josh Simmons. And you give him a full year off. He doesn't. You don't have to rush him in.
Give him a year off, and some of the people that really, really watch offensive line tapes that Josh Simmons healthy could have been the top 5 pick in the draft. So
yeah, for sure.
Rich just get richer. Chiefs get an awesome offensive tackle and a tackle of the future. Like, man, good move there.
Yeah. I agree. So I think if you're the Chiefs, we're talking about 2025. I guess I'm talking about Josh Simmons will not start next year, in my opinion. So 2026, I think you're looking at Simmons at left tackle, one of Jalen Moore or Kingsley Suamataia at left guard, and then Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, and then the other of Jalen Moore or Kingsley Suamataia at right tackle. I think he kind of solidified it. It's at least for the most part.
That's scary to think how good they just solidified their line for years to come and got younger. Got rid of Tooney, guys, Jawan Taylor.
Yeah, if Josh Simmons can turn into that guy that, a lot of us think we can or whatever, if he can get over that injury in the way that we think he can,
Yeah.
it's a good fit. Yeah, it's one of those. And like I said, if you're Kansas City, you're sitting here saying, we're going to be picking 30th and 32nd forever. Like, we're not going to be picking higher than 30th. We're never going to get chances at guys like this. So we might as well, if he tears his Achilles again and, he's just an injury risk, whatever, we're not going to get chances at guys like this. So we might as well take our chance.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Well, man, it was really fun. Great first NFL draft. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Appreciate Ben for some of the great questions and stuff. It was a really good time.
Yeah.
Anything else to round it out?
No, let's do it tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be on tomorrow. We'll probably follow Twitter more than the TV tomorrow because it's more like fast paced and
yeah, we can get ahead of some stuff too. I don't know how much if I'll be on the full amount, but I'll definitely pop in and chat and some stuff and hang out a little bit. But yeah, it was a really good time. Fun chatting with you.
All
on
right.
to the next one, man. Take it
Yeah,
easy.
talk to you tomorrow. Bye.